Monday, August 23rd, 2021 Blue Springs Planning Commission meeting to order. If everyone could please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you and welcome everybody this evening and those watching at home. Tonight's agenda consists of item 1 is the consent agenda for meeting minutes from August 9th Planning Commission meeting. Items 2, 3, 12, and 13 is a rezoning PUD concept plan, preliminary plat, and PUD final plan for the retreat at Chapman Farms. Items 4, 5, and 14 is rezoning PUD concept plan and preliminary plat for Chapman Ridge Phase 2. Item 6, conditional use permit for Outfront Digital Billboard. Item 7, conditional use permit for Ron Mather Billboard. Item 8, site plan design review for alternative development standards for Blue Springs High School pool renovation. Item 9, 11, 16, rezoning PUD concept plan and preliminary plat for Blue Springs High School Freshman Center. Item 10, vacation Blue Springs High School Freshman Center. Item 17, other business, and item 18, adjournment. We do have several public hearings this evening, so I'm going to read through the public hearing procedures. So up in the public hearing, call for exhibits from the city attorney. We'll ask for the staff presentation. Ask if the applicant would like to make a presentation. Ask for witnesses in favor and ask for witnesses opposed. General discussion, and then we'll close the public hearing. If there is those present who are going to speak in favor and opposition, I would ask you limit your comments no more than 5 minutes if you're not, and make sure that the content hasn't been mentioned before. If there is a spokesperson for many of the opponents, then please limit your comments to no more than 15 minutes. Okay. All right, this time I'd entertain a motion for the consent agenda for the approval of the August 9th, 2021 meeting.
Chair,
Commissioner Peel.
I move that the minutes from the Planning Commission from August 9th be approved as submitted by staff.
All right, I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Kraft. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. I will now open the public hearing for agenda items 2 and 3, rezoning RZ 06217847 and PUD concept plan PU DC 06217849 for the retreat at Chapman Farms. And we'll also include agenda items 12 and 13, preliminary plat PP 06217848 and PUD final plan PUDF 06217850. We'll hear all those together and vote on them separately, and I would ask for exhibits from our city attorney, Jackie Summer. Hey, Jackie, sorry. For some reason, I don't think it's on yet. Not quite. Oh, sorry. 1 second.
Dead. No, he says no.
Just keep going.
It's
For RZ 06217847, I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on July 24, 2021. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference. 9, 51 emails dated August 5th to August 18th from residents. And 10, 6 emails received today, August 23, 2021, before 4 o'clock p.m. For PUDC 06217849, I offer the following exhibits into the record. 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on July 24, 2021. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. 8, 2014 comprehensive plan by reference. 9, 51 emails dated August 5th to August 18, 2021 from residents. And 10, 6 emails received today, August 23, 2021, before the 4 p.m. cutoff.
All right, thank you. And I would ask the staff for their presentation. Mr. Wright.
All right, thank you, Chair Sanderson and Commissioners. Before you this evening are requests for rezoning, a PUD concept plan and final plan, and a preliminary plat for the retreat at Chapman Farms, which is a proposed 76-lot single-family subdivision covering 26.29 acres. The property is located east of Southwest 7 Highway between Southwest Chapman Farms Drive and Southwest Mason School Road. The property is currently zoned a mix of commercial zoning districts and single-family residential. The northern 21.67 acres was included in the original Chapman Farms PUD in 2004, and the southern 4.62 acres is not included in the Chapman Farms PUD, but is proposed to be added to the PUD as part of this rezoning request. The first request is for the rezoning of the entire 26.29 acres to SF7 PUD RO, which is single family with a planned unit development and restricted overlay. Most of the property is currently zoned for single family. However, there is service office zoning at the southeast corner of Southwest 7 Highway and Southwest Chapman Farms Drive, and a mix of regional commercial and central business zoning district along Southwest Mason School Road. The zoning districts along Southwest Mason School Road do have a separate restricted overlay that specifically limits the regional commercial zoning, which is the zoning district in pink, to only the development of a car wash. The remaining central business zoning district generally allows uses that were permitted in the general business zoning district when the property was rezoned. The additional requests are for a PUD concept plan, PUD final plan, and preliminary plat for the entire 26.29 acre property, which includes bringing the southern 4.62 acres into the Chapman Farms PUD and restricted overlay. The 2004 PUD concept plan designated the service office property, which is approximately an acre at the far northwest corner of the property, to a 4,700 square foot office building. The remaining single-family zone property was designated as a religious facility, which also included an accessory school and athletic fields. The remaining commercial properties are not currently part of a PUD, but are proposed to be included under this PUD concept plan. The PUD concept plan, which is on the screen, includes 76 single-family lots for a density of 2.89 units per acre in the concept plan. Access to the development will be provided from Southwest Chapman Farms Drive to the north and Southwest Mason School Road to the south, as well as additional interior streets that will connect to those 2 points of access. No access is permitted along 7 Highway. Minimum 5-foot sidewalks are required along 7 Highway and Mason School Road, and 4-foot sidewalks on one side of all other streets. The plan does meet and exceed those requirements with 5-foot sidewalks on both sides of all of 7 Highway, Mason School Road, as well as the new streets on the interior of the development. To accommodate additional on-street parking, the applicant has provided some additional areas of on-street parking along Chavis Drive and Amara Drive near the Community Amenity. Single-family lots are reviewed under the detached house neighborhood lot standards, which are included in page 9 of the staff report. Through the PUD concept plan, the applicant is requesting modifications to 3 of those standards, including a reduction in the minimum lot size from 7,200 square feet to 6,240 square feet, a reduction in the minimum lot width for standard lots from 65 feet to 52 feet, and a reduction in the corner side setbacks from 25 feet to 15 feet. Landscape buffers, under the 2004 Chapman Farms PUD, the existing SF7 zoning portion was required 23% of the site to be open space. The site has provided 31.6% open space and also meets the 2015 open space standards, which requires that 10% of the site be active open space. Tract B, which is approximately 5 acres, meets the active space open space requirement, which accounts for 19.06% of the site. Within Tract B, they're proposing 2 trails, both on the north and south side of the pond, as well as a playground area and seating areas. Landscape buffers are required along 7 Highway, as well as along the properties to the north and east of Lead Bank, as well as a landscape buffer along Mason School Road, which is not required, however, has been consistently required with other single-family subdivisions that are developed along Mason School Road under the Chapman Farms PUD. All landscaping requirements have been met with the provided landscape plan. Additionally, a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence has been provided along 7 Highway, as well as on the north and east side of Lead Bank for enhanced screening. Individual lot landscaping and street trees are required to be installed with the construction of each new house. The minimum livable floor area classification requires classifications to minimize the difference in house sizes within and between adjacent subdivisions. The applicant is proposing house sizes that range, or minimum classifications ranging from 1,400 to 1,800, as color coded in the map on the screen. Adjacent minimum sizes will increase from west to east, and adjacent subdivision minimums range between 1,600 square feet and Lakeside to the north, up to 2,400 for non-ranch houses in the shores. Due to the wide range of minimums of adjacent subdivisions, the only solution to meet the code would be a 2,200 square foot minimum, which is 3 steps higher than the Lakeside subdivision to the north. Front elevations of the single-family homes have been provided and include a mix of single-story and 2-story homes with front-loaded 2-car garages. There are 4 different base floor plans with the modern prairie-style exteriors with varied roof lines and projections. Each front elevation includes masonry, and there are different elevations included in the packet, but this particular screen shows all of the various models that are proposed. Staff reviewed the rezoning request and finds that the requested rezoning to SF7 PUD-RO is in accordance with the 2014 comprehensive plan, as well as the S1 area plan classifying the property as mixed density residential. Although staff has concerns with single family adjacent to 7 Highway, the addition of a wider landscape buffer and privacy fence with the PUD concept plan helps mitigate those concerns. Rezoning the entire property into the Chapman Farms PUD and rezoning to single family better protects existing single family residential that has developed to the north and east since the initial rezoning of the property in 2004 and 2006. Rezoning to remove the restricted overlay, limiting the development to only a car wash on a portion of the Mason School Road property particularly makes sense, as staff no longer believes that it is appropriate use given the amount of residential development in close proximity. And staff reviewed the PUD concept plan request and finds that the development plan is consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan and the area plan to integrate housing choices into neighborhoods and corridors, including smaller lot single family. The requested reductions in lot size, width, and minimum livable floor area are offset by enhanced architectural design standards, landscaping, buffering, and open space. Although the lot sizes, widths, and houses are generally smaller than houses to the north and east, the design features and materials of the houses and amenities still complement nearby houses. The Chapman Farms PUD was intended to provide a wide range of housing options, including diversity in housing types, densities, and price ranges. The PUD concept plan is better aligned with the 2014 comprehensive plan than the current plan, which was approved in 2004. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the rezoning, approval of the concept plan with 5 conditions, and approval of the final plan and preliminary plat, each with 6 conditions, and I will stand for any questions.
All right, thank you. And any questions for staff by the commissioners?
Chair?
Commissioner Peel.
Mr. Wright, has the school district been contacted for the impact of this subdivision to the local school?
They have not been directly contacted, although we do provide, we do meet with a representative, or we have discussions with a representative of the Lee Summit School District on an annual basis to discuss new potential increases in housing units.
Okay, and there's been no feedback from that discussion?
Not specifically related to this project, but they are aware of additional housing units. They capture the entire Chapman Farms PUD to determine future growth projections for their schools.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you, Chair.
Yep. Any other questions for staff by the commissioners? Commissioner Billups.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to make sure I'm clear. This is, and I'm asking this question based on a lot of the comments we're going to hear and the letters we've seen. This is a separate and distinct subdivision from any of the other ones, is that correct?
I'll let the applicant respond to that. I believe that their intent is that this will be combined with the existing HOA. Originally, the other 4 subdivisions in this part of Chapman Farms were each developed as individual subdivisions, and eventually the HOAs were combined. And I believe the applicant's intent is to combine this.
Is that normal to combine HOAs like that?
It is if there are shared amenities, and there are a number of amenities that they have to maintain, but I'll let the applicant respond in more depth to that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff by the commissioners? Okay, thank you. I would ask if the applicant would like to come forward and make the presentation. So you'll need to be sworn in, and then you'll state your name and address for the record.
I do. Tiffany Ford, 120 Southeast 30th Street, Lee Summit, Missouri.
Can you repeat your name, please?
Tiffany Ford.
Forward.
Sorry. Go to the next slide. Okay, so some of this will be repeat. Thank you so much for the nice overview of the project. You did a great job. Summit Homes does propose this new development that is adjoining or close proximity to the lakeside at Chapman Farms, Shores, and the Greenbrier. We thought that this was a great piece of land that would be better suited for a residential, single-family residential, opposed to the car wash or school, and it would provide a great, consistent look for the neighborhood. We would also be refurbishing that pond there to make that an amenity versus the agriculture that it is today. As we said, the layout of this community will also be planned. This is going to be a community that we will take the floor plans that we have and sequence them for the best distribution of all plans and elevations throughout the area. And then we've also considered all of the feedback that we've received. So based on the feedback we've received, we have removed the smallest lot from this community. It was 77 homes, but we've removed that 77th home and replaced that with green space. Based on feedback from the neighborhood, we've added 11 parking spaces to reduce the amount of on-street parking. The average home size, while we are following that UDO of the step downs, we wanted to make note that the average home size would probably be around 1,788 square feet, with the option to finish the lower level, making a potential home size of 2,945 square feet. As I said, all these homes will be for sale. All these homes will have basements. And we'll offer elevations that offer a variety of stone layouts, materials, lighting, garage, and front door options. It's uncertain today what the market will do as far as housing prices, but based on today's market trends and today's materials, these houses would have a base home price of anywhere from $300,000 to $350,000. In our experience, most home buyers have about $20,000 in upgrades once they've gone under contract, and then it would be an additional $30,000 if someone chose to finish a basement. We do anticipate a large variety or a large portion of these homes to have finished basements. As we said, we're planning to have a distribution of all floor plans throughout the community. So in the east section, we would finish those basements to make up for the smaller square footage where needed to meet that UDO. And finally, we do know that you guys have received a lot of form letters regarding this community entering the Lakeside HOA. In response to that, we have gone back to the drawing board and we are considering all options of this being a standalone HOA versus and considering joining the Lakeside HOA, and we'll be working with the board on those decisions. I have a couple of slides just to go through the elevations to see those in color, which some have already been shown. So here's one of them as a single story at 1,600 43 square feet, which could potentially be 2,323 square feet. The smallest home, the 1,400 square foot, with a finished basement, could be 2,300 square feet. One of our 2 stories, that's 1858, with a finished basement, could be 2,458. And lastly, the final 2-story, the 2,251 square feet with a lower level finish, could be 2,945. And we're providing this option because we want there to be an attainable option for the community. With prices increasing, we're seeing home prices go in the area of $500,000-$600,000, and that's not attainable for someone who's entering the market with an $80,000 to $120,000 a year household income, and that's what we want to try to provide an option for those people. As said, we're planning to put a children's playset based on feedback we received from the community. That children's playset would have a shade feature to accommodate the needs of those smaller children. Thank you, and I'm available to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ford. Any, if you can just remain up there, I'm sure we'll have a few questions. So any questions from the commissioners for the applicant?
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
You said that the average above grade would be around 1,700?
Yes.
Why don't you just make them 1,600? And all of them, if they're gonna be an average of 1,700.
So it's the average of those 4 plans with the 4 different total square footage, just a plain average by math, and those are the 4 plans that we offer today. And as always, we'll be considering more plans as the future goes, but those are our options right now.
Okay. And as far as the basements being square footage, it doesn't count above grade, though. It doesn't count in an appraisal most of the time. So are you gonna, the 1,700, are you talking about above grade?
Yes, the 1,700 would be for above grade, an average of 1,700 above grade.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant by the commissioners? Okay. All right, seeing none, thank you. All right, so we'll now entertain, or ask for, anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of the project. And I would ask if there's anybody who'd like to speak in opposition, and we do have 3 folks that submitted speaker forms, so I'll ask them up one by one. Mr. Farmer, if you'd like to come forward. And you'll just need to be sworn in and state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes. My name is Andy Farmer. My address is 8704 Southwest 5th Street Court. I am here representing myself and the majority of our community today. In short, we are asking you to unanimously disapprove of this proposal that's being put forth. Several of the questions that you guys propose leads me to believe that you guys have some similar concerns as us, the homeowners, do. To give some context, currently there's a little over 250 homeowners in the current HOA community that this is being added to. I want to speak first to the average square foot size. It was cited as 1,788 square foot. To give some context, part of why we're asking you to deny this motion is that if you look at the minimal livable area classifications, if you look even just at the 11 homes that are directly adjacent to this new property, they range in square footage from 2,600 square foot to 4,000 square foot. And they are asking for something that is almost 1,600 square foot. If you look at the step classifications as I understand it, section 407.110 is that there are restrictions on not stepping down more than one classification. If you look at the reality of what the houses that currently exist and the homeowners that are there, this is a step classification from classification A all the way down to E, F, and G, between 1,400, 1,600, and 1,800 square foot. Some of the exceptions that they are asking, they cited 3, there's actually 4. They are proposing to increase the density by 8%. As mentioned prior, they are requesting to reduce the minimum lot size by 13.3%. They're asking to reduce the minimum lot width by 20%, and they are asking to reduce the corner side setback by 40%. To give you some context, as far as what currently exists, our neighborhood covenants require 3-car garages. The proposal only allows for 2-car garages. This is quite a deviation from the remainder of the neighborhood that's being looked to be added to it. And I want to clear something up. As far as the board considering if they're going to make this a separate property or not, they are the board. So they have ownership of the HOA. The homeowners do not have a vote in this. We are reliant upon you guys to make the choices that are in the best interest of all of us that are here advocating for ourselves. So when we came into this community and we bought these homes, we had a reasonable expectation that what we were buying into would be consistent. And clearly what's being proposed is not only nowhere close to consistent, it's not in the interest of the homeowners of any way, shape, or form. That's why you have no one here that's a current homeowner that's supporting it. It's universally opposed by all of the current homeowners. And when you look at some of the justification for providing affordable housing, first off, how many of their homes have finished basements that they sell in the current properties? None that I know of. Very few individuals go in and purchase a home and spend $30,000 extra to finish a basement for that square footage. So I don't think that's a practical way to get it up, and I don't think it's realistic. The other thing is, if you look at what they're proposing for affordable housing, in the last 6 months, there were 37 homes that were sold amongst the 4 total parts that are currently in our HOA. 3 of them adjoin directly. The range was from $345,000 to $634,000. They averaged out to $455,000 or $180 a square foot. If you look at the 1,400 square foot home that they're looking at marketing in that 350 target, that's $250 a square foot. So I hope that you guys can see past some of the smoke and mirrors about this being presented as a way for affordable housing. This is a way to maximize their profit and, you know, to give us zero say as current homeowners for the amenities that we have, a 30-acre lake. We have 2 pools and walking trails that they just get the authority to, you know, get this approved, and we just have to live with it. And when they look at some of the, when they look at some of the enhancements that they made or to better protect the community because it's being transitioned to single-family homes, listen to the people that live there. This isn't better protecting us, and this is not what we want. So in short, I ask that you guys consider our concerns and to deny this request.
Thank you, Mr. Farmer. Is there any questions for this witness by the commissioners? Yes,
Sure.
Commissioner Moore.
So, I heard that there's home's supposed to be 1,700 square feet, and you're saying they're only gonna be 1,400 square feet, so which one is it?
So the average, they said, was 1,788 square foot. That's the average if you look at how they have assigned for the 3 different floor plans, the 1,400, the 1,600, and the 1,800 square foot.
Okay. And you're saying it's gonna be 1,400 square feet?
What's that?
1,400 square feet?
That's the smallest one, yes.
That's the smallest one. How many are there at 1,400 square feet?
You would have to go back and, you know, count up some of the dots, the colored dots that are on there.
I got it.
33 of the homes.
I can't.
Okay, so
So
most of the
almost half.
emails that were sent out had that same statement in there, that there were 33 up to 77 are below the minimum square footage. So when you say the minimum square footage, what is your minimum?
Well, if you look at what practically exists there, the homes that are already built next to it, those houses range between 2,600 square foot to 4,000 square foot. There are 11 total houses that adjoin directly to that property between the 3 subdivisions that connect.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions by the commissioners for the applicant? Or I'm sorry, the witness, sorry.
I think I'll wait for the applicant.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Farmer, thank you.
Thank you.
I would now call Ms. Conrad to speak. or Mr. Conrad. Sorry. Sorry about that.
I can
You
be,
need to
I can be Miss
state-
Conrad, that's
yeah,
okay.
sorry about that. So you'll need to be sworn in, state your name and address.
Christopher Conrad? Yes. First and foremost, just want to say thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak here tonight.
We need your name and
yeah.
address.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Christopher Conrad, 8816 Southwest 4th Street, Lee Summit, Missouri, or Blue Springs, Missouri, excuse me, 64064.
Thanks. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak tonight. I speak for my spouse and board member, Jennifer Conrad, myself, and several neighbors who could not be here tonight. While there are several Lakeside residents here tonight, this meeting did conflict with teacher nights and the start of school for many Lakeside residents. Through no fault of this board, the timing for this open forum, revote, and decision does seem rather convenient. Several of my neighbors have already mentioned details and agenda items I plan to discuss, so in the interest of time, I will be brief. Given the significance of this development and proposal that directly impacts the Lakeside neighborhood, the current property owners, the property values, and their neighborhood visibility from 7 Highway, I ask the committee to consider the following reasons to deny the proposal. 0, the current number of homes in Lakeside community with less than 3-car garage. 0, excluding neighborhood amenities, there are 0 subdivisions in South Blue Springs or the northern Lee Summit area that include dedicated or set-aside parking to avoid street parking or on-street parking. Lakeside should not be the guinea pig for dedicated parking spaces with homes priced and marketed at $300,000 to $350,000 and up. Issues with rapidly selling homes in Lakeside, the Shores, or Ridgewood at the current price point is a non-issue. The applicant mentioned here tonight on 8/23/21, they are considering this as a standalone HOA or adding to the existing Chapman Farms HOA. Lakeside residents have no issues with a diverse community and a diverse array of housing options, but the applicant would obviously be getting the big advantage of using our current HOA solution. Excuse me. 10 plus. The number of years the Lakeside community and residents have followed and maintained the current agreement in the original CCR regulations, designed originally for the neighborhood. 650,000, the most recent selling price or under contract price for the home in Lakeside, in the Lakeside resident area. In conclusion, we should hold builders, real estate investors, and companies now backed by a significant financial corporation to the same honest standards and regulations that we have upheld as a Lakeside community for the past 10 plus years. The details and numbers and facts that were shared before clearly show the agenda to push as many houses into a small wetland space rather than what is best for the Lakeside neighborhood and the Blue Springs community. I implore you to deny this proposal again, just as you did approximately 3 years ago when Lakeside residents voiced concerns and disagreement over a similar proposal that did not abide by the CCR details. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right, thank you. All right, I would now call up Jason Sanders. So you need to be sworn in and state your name and address for the record, please.
I do. Jason Sanders, 121 Southwest George Drive, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64064. Good evening. I have the pleasure of remembering some of you all when I was on your side, so I say this heartfelt. I appreciate what you have to do every other week and the vision that you provide us. It is a thankless job in many ways, but the one thing I always enjoyed about being on your side was trying to find compromise between developers. And, I wouldn't have a house if there was not a developer, right? None of us would. And what is best for a community or a city. And I often thought about when I was on your side was, well, what's going to be the impact when I'm gone? Not just the community, but to the city. And I think in this case, it will significantly change what we are doing down there. And when I say we, I mean you all, the city council, and us as a community. I ask you to just take a look at the wonderful arguments that my colleagues over here had presented, and think about really what is the impact. I do live right adjacent to that. The biggest house would be half the size of mine, and it would be literally across the street. That does impact me. It will impact my investment, if you will. And there are many others. And I have asked, when we had the meeting 2.5 weeks ago, can we not blend in Lakeside? Can we not blend in Greenbrier? It didn't seem like they wanted to go there. And I just asked that we compromise on this. I look forward to housing being there. I want housing to be there. But right now, it does seem like the reduction is just to add more houses. So with that, like everybody else here, most everybody else here, I ask that you deny the request. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Any questions by the commissioners for the witness? All right, thank you. All right, I would now ask if there's any other speakers in opposition at this time. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Either way. Yes. Okay. Yeah. If you could just come up forward, be sworn in, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's John Stoltz, and I live at.
Real quick, you just gotta swear you in.
Yes. My name's John Stoltz, and I live at 509 Southwest Lakeside Court in Blue Springs. The only thing I wanted to point out is, I know they had mentioned that they had added the parking spaces, which you had kind of circled kind of over here between the, I think it was the green dots, the on-site parking. And my biggest concern is, is how many people are going to utilize that parking within that community? Is someone that's on the other street going to actually park there and walk around the block, or are they going to park on the street? The other thing I want to point out is they are reducing the lot sizes. When you're talking about going from, I think it was 65 to 53, I mean, that's 12 feet between homes that you're losing. That's a large amount. That's not a couple feet here and there. These are going to be homes like are already built across 7 Highway, where when you look at them, it looks like one home if you're at the right angle, because they are right next to each other. And if you go out there and you actually look, right now when there's only 5 or 6 occupied homes, there are already people parking on the street. And it's already full. It almost looks like down at Eagle Ridge, those duplexes. When you look down that street, there is no place to park and you can barely get a car down. That is what you're already starting to see over there on 7 Highway, which is basically what this community is going to look like. And I think that that is really something that needs to be taken into consideration when you're talking about something that's being built that's going to be near homes that are already existing, that when you drive down the street in any of the existing subdivisions already, you do not see that. You can drive down and there's no problems. I already moved from a subdivision in the northwest side of Blue Springs, Nantucket Village, because of that reason. You had to drive pretty much down the middle of the street, which was a danger when you had a kid running out from behind another car, because 2 cars could not go side by side. And I think those are really considerations that you need to think about when you're making this determination on whether or not to pass it. And that's all I've got.
All right. Any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right. Thank you, Mr. Schultz. All right. Any other speakers in opposition? Yep. You can be sworn in. State your name and address for the record, please.
Yes. Jennifer Conrad, 8816 Southwest 4th Street, Blue Springs, Missouri 64064. So I had my husband speak first because I am not a public speaker whatsoever, but I felt it was my duty to my community, since I have been a part of the board for our community for the last 8 years, to speak on their behalf. Many neighbors have contacted me specifically because I have tried to help with communication between Summit and the neighbors. Summit does control our board 100%. There are only 2 current homeowners who are on the board and 4 Summit members. So any vote for the board, Summit does outweigh our vote in decision-making process. The 2-car, 3-car garage, that's been a lot of discussion tonight. Just to kind of give you a perspective, the Summit Home garages are very small to begin with. With our 3-car garage, most larger trucks do not fit into them. So your 2-car garage, which would be much smaller than that, I'm having a hard time seeing and visualizing 2 cars actually fitting into those garages, which does increase the street parking, which makes it harder for EMS, firefighters, those kind of vehicles to get through the streets. If you do go through our current neighborhood, you will see trucks parked in the driveways because they cannot fit into the garages that the homes are built. So that is a big concern of mine, as well as the size of the lots. And in addition, I feel like the benefit to this community, if this is passed, is they're going to be using our amenities, which we're currently, like has been stated before, 2 swimming pools, playground, walking trails, with their 1 playground being added to this addition. Further discussion about what amenity is put there too would be nice for this community, as well as a second playground is probably not needed to add to our HOA. So for those reasons, I oppose this plan.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Conrad. Are there any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right, thank you. Okay, are there any other speakers in opposition? Yep, if you can come forward, please be sworn in, state your name and address for the record.
I do. Hi, thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for the rest of our community here that's here. My name is Dr. Brian Hollabaugh, address 117 Southwest Shores Drive, Blue Springs, Missouri 64004, third house in by the lake, or second house in by the lake there. Just a little about me. I'm from Blue Springs, grew up here, went to Cordell Mason, Moreland Ridge, Blue Springs South High School, went to Mizzou, lived in Columbia, down in Kansas City, lived in Dallas, Rochester, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Been recruited nationwide to go be a physician, and I came back to my hometown to take care of the people in our community. And I chose this exact neighborhood because when I went there and looked at houses, the school buses came off and kids were out playing in the streets, playing in yards, playing at the parks, fishing with their mom and dad, walking around the trails. That's why I chose to come to this neighborhood. Out of anywhere in the United States, I came back here to my hometown. I can tell you our neighborhood is wonderful. I have 3 little kids. They run in the streets. They play with the neighbors. A lot of them are here. They walk around the neighborhood. It's a safe community. It has enough room for kids to play with each other in the yards. A lot of kids do play in the streets as well. There are a lot of kids in our community. What concerns me, not only as a parent, but as a surgeon who does trauma, the packing in houses in an area where there's a lot of kids is dangerous. Okay, I live, again, the second house off the corner there. My next door neighbor Josh is here, has 3 little girls. We already have a problem with cars flying by, and it's a danger to my children as well as the other children of people who are here and aren't here. Packing in that many cars, again, with a lot of street parking, there's a lot of kids that play, and with the shortening of the actual square footage of those houses in the play area that kids can play, because that is an area of town that we have a lot of children. I have concern there's going to be kids in the streets because there's nowhere to play in the yards, which is a big danger to the kids. So that concerns me, as well as the school where this goes to over at Mason is already trying to expand. They've been working and teaching in a lot of outside the classroom, makeshift ways. They're trying to expand, but for the growth in that area of the community. And I do have concerns for the education of my children, who I do want to go to the public school system, and the ability for them to get a good education. Again, I could have lived anywhere. I chose to come back to Blue Springs, where I'm from, and I do ask you to oppose this. Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All Are there any other speakers in opposition at this time? You can please be sworn in, state your name and address for the record.
I do. John Alexander, 8805 Southwest 4th Street, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64064. I won't take up very much of your time. I appreciate your time. As everyone else has said, we all want homes to be here. We want them to abide by the 1,600 minimum square feet that's in the CCR, the 3-car garage that's in the CCR, and right now, the current subdivision that they're building out, I think there are 6 maybe lots left right now that they're selling. When we have close to 300 people or homes in our neighborhood, and 0 hour, they're like, oh, we're just gonna expand and we're gonna keep control of the board, and good luck. So it just doesn't seem right to move the goalposts based on what we agreed to in good faith when we built our house. And as far as the addition from what was here before, it really doesn't address many of the concerns, but it does make me wonder if we're having in-street parking. We already have a lot of problems with people using our amenities, and people can just conveniently park then and go on their merry way. So anyway, that's it. I appreciate your time tonight, and withhold the balance of whatever time.
All right. Thank you. Are there any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other speakers in opposition to this project? Yep. If you could please come forward, be sworn in, state your name and address.
Yes. My name is Christopher Peterson. I lived at 8816 Southwest Lakeside Trace, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64064. First and foremost, again, thank you for your time. I know it's been spoken already about tonight, but I just wanted to reiterate that. Secondly, thank you to my awesome neighbors who have all showed up in support for this unequivocal denial of this expansion. We're new here. I was born and raised in DeSoto, Kansas. My wife is from Parkville, Missouri. We lived in Orlando, Florida for the last 8 years. So I know exactly what these homes are because I moved from neighborhood to neighborhood in these homes. You want to hear your neighbors arguing? Sure, you can hear them any time of day. You want to hear screaming, fighting, everything that you don't want to hear at 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night? You can hear it because there's an argument and your walls are right next to each other with this type of 0 lot line allotment, okay? We moved here for many of the other same reasons, and when we brought these concerns to Summit about 2.5 weeks ago, they said, hey, we'll take all this into consideration, we'll look it over, and we'll make some revisions. And then we had the initial board meeting that ended up getting canceled and moved to sometime in September, and then pivoted to tonight. And it looks like the only way that they tried to solve this was with the on-street parking, because we had the issues with the 2 versus 3-car garage. For me, that's kind of a passing the buck. Instead of actually listening to our concerns, they have done kind of what they historically have done through the last year that I've been in the neighborhood. We had issues, as one of our members spoke about, with our amenities being used. We have cars that come and park on the street right now, and they just fish in our pond or lake, whatever you want to call it, that we, the homeowners, pay to stock. And is there anything that we can do about that? Well, sure, we could call the police. The police come out unnecessarily, by the way, because they really shouldn't be bothered with random people fishing in our lake. But what do? Can they cite them? No, they can't. They can just tell them to leave. And we, as the homeowner, has to actually stay and be there for the complaint. We can't just call the police come and remove them because they don't live in our neighborhood. Can we stop on-street parking? No, we cannot. Because technically in the city of Blue Springs, on-street parking is legal as long as you don't have a vehicle or a trailer up to X size. So just because they put a few slots in, that doesn't mean it's actually going to stop on-street parking. The other point that I wanted to note is that don't be fooled by their numbers. Their numbers say that they're looking at house prices from around, I believe it was around $300,000 to upwards of $450,000. And they cited individual income, or household income rather, of $80,000 to $120,000. The general rule of thumb throughout the United States is that you should not purchase a home that is more than 3 times your annual income. So if they are targeting a demographic of $120,000 at the top end, that means that the most these individuals should be able to afford from a home size is $360,000, which would put them on the very bottom end or in that 1,400 square foot range. my wife and I, moved to this community because we were tired of hearing people fight. We were tired of the arguments and the yelling and whatnot that we had no control over. And you can't cite anyone for a noise complaint when they're really just arguing to, fight about whatever family matter. We moved here because we have this space. We love our neighbors. We love our community that we're in. And we are in vehement denial of this motion, and we hope that you would follow suit as well. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right, thank you, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you.
Are there any other speakers in opposition at this time? Okay. I would ask if the applicant would like to come forward and addressing the concerns that were mentioned.
Thank you. I'll try to keep this as organized as possible with all the comments that we've heard tonight. Regarding I'll kind of start with the square footage that was brought up of the 1,400 square footage. I would like to take a trip back in time to Ridgewood Place. When Ridgewood Place was put in a few years ago, we heard many of these same concerns, that people did not want this minimum square footage, or they did not think that the lots were big enough. There is a section of Ridgewood Place that does have a 1,400 square foot minimum. There is a section of Ridgewood Place that does have lots that are the size that we're proposing here. So these lot sizes and these square footage minimums already exist in their community. This is something that's already been approved and is built and is being purchased. I also want to say that while the minimum square footage size we are proposing is smaller, that there is a wide variety of lot sizes in this community, that the average lot size is over 8,000 square feet, which is larger than the minimum that is required for the UDO. So we have some that are small and some that are larger, which complements the area. I also want to point out that we are maintaining the setbacks. We're not asking for reduced side setbacks, meaning that these houses are going to be the same distance apart as the current houses in the community. As far as the lot sizes, when they're referencing the houses across the street, those are on minimum of 40-foot lots. These are 52-foot lots. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. These are much bigger lots than what they're seeing at the 40-foot lots across the street. I also want to bring up that this project was discussed with the board. The board did unanimously agree, even the two homeowner residents, that this was in the HOA's best interest to have these lots, the HOA's financial best interest to join the HOA. From Summit Homes' perspective, we don't care one way or another if it joins or does not join. We are joining it because it's in a financial interest of the HOA. Honestly, the dues would probably be cheaper for these homeowners to not join the HOA. So this is something that we're doing to try to play nice with everybody. And then to finish up, the discussion was brought up of why not build the same houses that are currently in Lakeside. Well, this piece of land does have some concerns. So it was considered to go to a different lot size or different house size, but there's many factors that affected this project's financial feasibility. There's issues such as wetlands, their sewer depths, and their site elevations. They're all factors that have to be considered into beyond just the home size and the lot size, that there's a lot more factors that have to be considered with this project. And lastly, we feel that this piece is a transitional piece of land between commercial and residential, and this is a good option for that transitional piece.
All right, thank you. Is there any questions for the applicant by the commissioners? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, we'll bring it back up to the commissioners for discussion.
Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Pugh.
I'd like to ask staff, what fire district is this subdivision in? Is it Prairie or is it?
This is in southern Jackson County, which was previously Prairie Township that merged with Lake Lotawana.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you, Chair.
Yep. Any other discussion from the commissioners?
I have one thing.
Yeah, Commissioner Honeycutt.
I have a lot of concerns about this project, but one of the things that I do want to ask and see if there's any clarification on is when it comes to the schools. So it's no secret that Mason Elementary is busting at their seams already with what we have. We have 76 new homes being proposed, all of which are single family homes. So that could be potential for a big influx of students into that school. Is there any information that we have from the school district, from Lee's Summit School District or Mason, on can it handle, that amount of new students into that school?
So we do not visit with the school for every single development project. As I mentioned, we have an annual meeting with the school district. And so on the staff report, page 8, I did include in here the list of the total number of units that have been proposed over time in the Chapman Farms PUD. And so you can see the actual number, and this is one of the items that the school district uses to determine future capacity needs. You can see in 2004, originally there were supposed to be almost 1,400 units. Based on the changes to that plan, even with these additional 76 units, we're at 1,220. So overall, the total number of units has actually declined over what was previously approved at one time. And the number of single-family units, it has gone from 880 to 910 with this plan. So a net increase over time of 30 units for single-family.
Thank you.
Any other comments by the commissioners or further discussion? Okay, I will close the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion for the rezoning.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Peel.
I move that rezoning request RZ 06217847 for the retreat at Chapman Farms be approved as submitted by staff.
I have a motion from Commissioner Peel. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Commissioner Honeycutt. This will be a roll call vote.
Okay. Planning Commissioner Cradoff,
Nay.
Commissioner Honeycutt,
No.
Commissioner Banks,
No.
Commissioner Billups,
Can you come back to me, please?
Commissioner Peel,
Aye.
Commissioner Graham,
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr,
No.
Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Chair Sanderson.
No.
Okay, and that is a tie vote. It has failed.
Okay.
Motion has failed.
So that motion is denied. That item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Wednesday, September 8th meeting at 6 p.m. I would now ask for a motion on the PUD concept plan.
Chair,
Commissioner Peel.
I remove that the Plan Unit Development Concept Plan PUDC 06217849 for the retreat at Chapman Farms with the 5 conditions be denied.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Peel. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Honeycutt. This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Banks,
To be denied.
to be denied.
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Commissioner Peel,
Aye.
Commissioner Graham,
No.
Commissioner Cradoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Honeycutt,
Aye.
and I see Commissioner Banks, Commissioner Rohr,
So it's to be denied.
yes. And that is the PUD concept plan.
So, yes, to be denied.
Okay, and Chair Sanderson.
Aye.
Okay, and that motion has been it's denied.
Okay, so this item has been recommended to be heard by the city, and the motion is carried to deny
Yes.
the PUD concept plan. This item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Wednesday, September 8th meeting at 6 p.m. So before we motion, I guess I'm gonna ask you guys real quick how we want to proceed with the second two, before we vote on the preliminary plat and the PUD final plan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Because the request for the rezoning and the request for the PUD concept plan are recommendations provided by the planning commission to the city council for the city council to have the ultimate decision at their next meeting on September 8th. We would request or make a suggestion that the two items in which the planning commission is the ultimate decision maker, the preliminary plat and the PUD final plan, that the decision in voting on those be delayed or continued to the next the next planning commission meeting following the city council meeting, so that the city council's decision on the concept plan and rezoning can be made before those two items are heard. So that in essence, the planning commission wouldn't be approving or denying those two items without knowing what the city council votes on the rezoning and the concept plan, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yep. So I guess procedurally, I guess, do we need to ask if we wanna, the option to continue, or? Okay, so I would entertain a motion to continue the preliminary plat to the next planning commission meeting.
Sure. Go ahead.
Commissioner Beal.
Okay, can I
We're
get
gonna
fight over it here.
I'd like to clarify, sorry.
Yeah,
I'd like to clarify that the next, the rezoning and the PUD concept will be heard by the city council on Wednesday, September 8th at 6 p.m. And the next planning commission to be heard for the preliminary and the PUD final will be Monday, September 13th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you. Yep.
All right,
Yes,
Chair?
and I'm sorry, I would just like to clarify, the reason why the staff is recommending this is that because the planning commission has recommended denial of those two documents. And should the planning commission tonight go forward and subsequently deny the preliminary and final plans, but council approve the project, then the applicant would have to come back anyway, months down the road, to request approval of those two documents. So that's why we're requesting that it be continued, because those two other items that do require the city council approval were denied. That's why we're requesting that. So it is a little bit out of the norm. So I just wanted to clarify that, and thank you, Karen, for clarifying the dates.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to continue those items, or continue the preliminary plat, sorry.
Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Beal.
I move that preliminary plat PP 06217848 for the retreat at Chapman Farms with the 6 conditions be denied.
Oh,
Are you
Continued?
denied? They want to continue.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Continue to September 13th, sorry.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second from Commissioner Banks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that,
Yeah. Sorry.
application is continued. I now ask for a motion to continue the PUD final plan.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I did the same thing here.
Commissioner
For
Peel.
planned unit development final plan PUDF 06217850 for the retreat at Chapman Farms be continued to Monday, September 13th, and it's 6 conditions as well.
All right.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that application is also continued. Okay, so that's all the discussion that we had on those applications, and we'll move to the public hearing. I'm going to open public hearing for agenda items 4 and 5, rezoning RZ 07217868 and PUD concept plan PUDC 07217870 for Chapman Ridge Phase 2. And I would also include agenda item 14, preliminary plat PP 07217869. We'll hear all the items together and vote on them separately. I would ask for exhibits from our city attorney, Jackie Summer.
For RZ 07217868, I offer the following exhibits into the record. 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on August 7, 2021. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference. And for PDC 07217870, I offer the following exhibits into the record. 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on August 7, 2021. 4, 185 feet notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
All right, thank you. And as for the staff's presentation, Mr. Wright.
All right, thank you, Chair Sanderson and Commissioners. Before you this evening, a request for rezoning PUD concept plan and preliminary plat for Chapman Ridge Phase 2, which is a proposed 84-unit townhouse-style development covering 14.2 acres. The property is located north of Colburn Road between the gardens at Chapman Farms and Mason Elementary School. The property is currently a mix of commercial zoning districts and includes a small area of two-family zoning. The first request is for, to rezone 11.42 acres to MF10 PD, which is low-density multifamily plan development. The 11.42 acres currently includes a mix of service office, general business, neighborhood business, and 2 common tracts that are zoned two-family that were part of the Gardens at Chapman Farms second plat. And then the PD concept plan is a slightly larger area of 14.2 acres. It includes this two-family zoning property that was part of the Chapman Ridge first phase. And the only reason that it is being included in this is because there are some changes to the street network, the loss of a duplex, and some changes to the detention area to accommodate the second phase. But because it is, there's not any actual building that's proposed on there, or units proposed on there, it does not require a rezoning. The development plan, which is on the screen, it again covers 14.2 acres and includes 6 lots and 3 tracts for a total of 84 units with a density of 7.36 units per acre. This plan includes 18 fourplexes and 6 duplexes. Access to the site is provided by a new extension of Southeast 3rd Street to connect to Colburn Road. All other points of access are taken from existing streets, including the extension of Little Garden Lane from the west, as well as an additional cul-de-sac coming off of Chapman Ridge Drive. The remaining streets are coming off of Rock Garden Lane, 4th Street, and Rose Garden Lane, which were a part of the first phase of Chapman Ridge. An 8-foot trail will be extended along Colburn Road along the entire frontage, which will align with the western property of Mason School Elementary. As well as an 8-foot trail extension along Southeast Chapman Ridge Drive, which is consistent with the 8-foot trail that has been approved in the first phase of Chapman Ridge. That trail will eventually lead to the north property line for an opportunity to connect that trail when Roscoe Ryder Park is developed in the future. 4-foot sidewalks are required on all other local streets. The applicant is proposing 5-foot sidewalks on both sides of the street, as well as a 5-foot sidewalk along the east side of Chapman Ridge Drive. Since the plan includes a mix of duplexes and fourplexes with multiple buildings on each lot, the development best fits within the apartment complex building type in the Unified Development Code. The site meets most of those development standards for an apartment complex. However, the side and rear setbacks cannot be met primarily the properties that are adjoining the first phase of Chapman Ridge. Because of that, the applicant is requesting a reduction in the side setbacks, which are normally 10 to 20 feet, down to 3 feet. In some cases, it's just merely the boundary line between multifamily and two-family is right adjacent to this build line. That is primarily just due to where the property lines are, but since the property is being developed as a cohesive development, staff believes that that is appropriate for this particular location. And also 15-foot rear setbacks for these 2 northern buildings here. Typically for a multifamily development, the setbacks are 20 feet. However, the duplexes to the north have more than 20 feet there. So even between the 2, they still meet the building separation that's required between multifamily units. All of the building type standards can be met with the plan. The apartment complexes are required a minimum of 40% open space for the entire site. The site has 62.93% open space, and apartment complexes also require 10% active open space. The site does meet that requirement with more than 12%. They will be adding a community pool as well as several trails throughout the subdivision, as well as an outdoor seating area here along Chapman Ridge Drive. Landscape buffers are required along all property boundaries except for a portion of the west property boundary, the west and the north here, that is adjacent to another multifamily zoning district. Any low density multifamily is required a landscape buffer where it adjoins two-family residential. However, again, because the development is proposed to be combined with the first phase with shared amenities and be treated as the same development, they are requesting to remove the landscape buffers along those boundaries so as to not create a division within the neighborhood. Installing this conceptual landscape plan has been provided and does meet most of the buffering requirements. It is short some landscaping along Colburn Road, which will be reviewed with the final plan and site plan design review to meet those minimum calculations. Building elevations have been provided for the proposed development, which include a mix of fourplexes and duplexes. The fourplexes show two-story units with a mix of one-car and two-car front-loaded garages. The elevations have not been provided for the duplexes, however, based on the renderings and the footprints, they will be the same as the fourplexes. They'll just be cut down the middle. Exterior building elevations on the front include a mix of masonry and various sidings so that each unit is distinguished from each adjoining unit. Side elevations include window projections and bay windows for added interest. And then the rear elevations, particularly along Colburn Road, will have some additional details. So the view from Colburn Road will have a similar aesthetics to the front elevations. Total garage door coverage of these elevations is 19.4%, which is under the 25% maximum that's allowed by code. All units do meet the minimum 2 parking space per unit that's off-street. And due to the addition of 2-car garage units for approximately half the units, approximately half the units have 4 off-site parking spaces with the two garages and 2 parking spaces in the driveway. However, due to that additional off-street parking addition, approximately the proposed development does not meet exceeds the maximum front yard coverage of 25% per block for multifamily. This is unique to multifamily. It does not apply to single family or duplexes, but it does apply to all the units in this property because it's multifamily. And with that, there are several blocks here that are at 50%, including one that's at 53% coverage within the front yard. And individual driveways are not allowed to exceed 24 feet. However, to accommodate the 3rd-car garage, the maximum driveway needs to be 31.1 feet. So they are requesting those modifications in order to accommodate additional off-street parking. Without these modifications, the plan would need to be significantly altered to accommodate side or rear-loaded garages or other internal parking areas, which would require the loss of garage space. Staff did review the rezoning request under the review criteria and does find that the proposed rezoning to low-density multifamily is in accordance with the comprehensive plan and the S1 area plan, which classifies this property as mixed-density residential. The proposed land uses are complementary to existing and previously approved developments in the vicinity, which include a mix of housing and zoning districts. It also provides an appropriate transition from higher a low-density multifamily along Colburn Road, to duplex, and then to future parkland to the north. It also is appropriate at the intersection of an arterial street, which is Colburn Road, and a minor collector street, which is Chapman Ridge. And staff also reviewed the PD concept plan under the right review criteria in the Unified Development Code, and does find that the proposed plan provides for the development of a cohesive townhouse-style apartment complex that builds off of existing and approved developments to the north and west. The requested modifications to the side and rear setbacks, landscape buffers, and driveway coverage and widths are warranted by the site location and the development pattern. Strict adherence to the code would require some buildings to be removed or relocated, creating inconsistent gaps in the streetscape and unusually large corner setbacks. Modifications to the driveway access and driveway coverage provide a housing product that is comparable to similar duplexes and fourplex developments, however, does provide additional garage and driveway parking. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning, approval of the concept plan with 4 conditions, and approval of the preliminary plat with 6 conditions, and I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Are there any questions for staff by commissioners? Commissioner Banks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I read so much, I want to make sure, did we, or did you write down that we only are going to approve the setback and the back setback, you know, the 3 feet, and the, for lots like 22, 23, and 25, it's right there on that slide. I think it's 24, it's right close to the side. Is that the 3-foot side setback? I guess my question is, are we only for specific lots? Not all lots can have a 3-foot side setback.
Correct, yeah. We didn't specifically call that out in the conditions. However, any of the setbacks that are shown on this plan, that's what they're held to. So like the 15-foot rear setbacks, that would not apply to every single one of these. It would apply to those that have been called out here, which would be buildings 22 and 23. Same with the side setbacks. All the other developments we looked at, all the other setbacks have been met. It's really just those that I believe were called out in the staff report.
Because normally we specifically say which lots we're allowing. So I just thought I'd check. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions for staff by the commissioners? All right, thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward and make a presentation? You'll need to be sworn in. State your name and address for the record, please.
I do. Tyler Salee, Salee Real Estate Investments, 3730 Northeast Troon Drive, Lee Summit, Missouri, 64064. So just a little bit of background about this area, about this development. So we developed the gardens at Chapman Farms there to the west, completed that project about a year ago. That consists of 19 duplex buildings, 38 total units. If you've driven down that street, it's kind of the street that dead ends right now. There's a temporary cul-de-sac there, which is about at the far left end of your screen. And then probably 6 to 8 months ago, we came before you with the project to the north there, which were the first 2 lots at the very north end of Chapman Ridge Drive. Again, another duplex product. I believe there was 21 buildings, so 42 total units there, and then this being the last of the handful of lots that were available there. So the timing of it, there's different ownership groups for landowners out there, just different timing for each phase. We kind of foresee this as one project, the gardens at Chapman Farms, Chapman Ridge 1, and now we're calling this Chapman Ridge 2. Our goal is for everyone to be able to use and share the amenities that are there. Have a street connectivity that will take a little garden to the east, and then have another access out on Colburn Road, and then also be able to get people over to Chapman Ridge as well. On that concept plan, Matt, if you can go back, that has the down. So in the southeast corner of Lot 2, where the detention area is, we're proposing to add a community amenity, which would be pool house, parking lot, something similar to what you see in our other developments here in town. So again, our goal for that is for that to be used by everybody. So be a common HOA that everybody will run under. We plan on that HOA will do all the exterior maintenance like what they're doing right now. So lawn care, landscaping, things like that, exterior maintenance of the buildings. So all the units to the north and all the units to the west are currently ranch style houses, 2 and 3 bedroom. What we propose here, these are all 2-story type of houses. Like Matt said, a combination of fourplex and duplex. So just a different variety of product here. You know, a good transition we feel like going from the 2 lots to the north towards Colburn Road. Of course, our plan includes the improvement of Colburn Road, so the widening of that, and then the walking trail that goes along Colburn, similar to what you see over at the Chapman, the Gardens at Chapman Farm, that we did a year ago. So that'll continue on to Chapman Ridge, and then we'll go on east over to the school. Regarding the setback questions here, so so the intent there is, so there we have one building that's there on the corner of, I can't read the street names from here, but there's not another housing unit next to it. So there's a 3-foot from the side of the building to the property line. Well, the other property owner to the east of that is still us. So, and you go, I don't know, you probably go 25 or 30 feet to get to the street, and then you'll have another building until you almost get to Chapman Ridge. So, anyways, it's not a conflict of housing to housing, it's just housing to property line. So, and then the other setback conflict that we had is where you see the lot 4 up there to the north. The units to the north of that were held up closer to the street. So I think the intent there is to have 20 in the rear yard for both people. So we have more than 20, the units to the north, so we can still meet the intent of having 20 and 20 for a total of 40 in the setback. So the 5 feet that we're giving up on our side, we make up for, probably exceed on the north side there. So again, it's not really a conflict of unit to unit, it's more of a living unit to a property line. So if those property lines weren't there, we would obviously meet the setbacks. So some of that was just driven by street connectivity and how they fit. So like Matt said, I think we meet and exceed the green space requirements. We've got walking trails throughout the neighborhood that'll be constructed. And again, our goal there is to kind of connect everybody to the west and the north into this development as well. So I think that's it. Matt did a great job, of course, with the presentation. So happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant from the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Craddock.
Just out of curiosity, what's the average price range here?
Average price range here is probably anywhere between $1,500 to $1,800 per month, all for lease. The development to the west, the Gardens at Chapman Farms, again, that's been open for about a year now, and I think that average is in the $1,600 per month.
Okay, thank
you.
Any other questions for the applicant by the commissioners? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I would now ask if there's anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this project. Okay. I would ask if there's anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition of this project. Okay. Any other further discussion from the commissioners?
Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Peel.
My usual question, is this in Prairie Fire District or?
Yes, it's in southern Jackson County Fire, which was previously Prairie Fire Township.
Okay, I was worried about the previous applicant and the density there. I'm kind of concerned with the density here as well. Who responds for ambulance? Does Blue Springs respond?
That would either be Prairie Fire or the city of Blue Springs Police.
Yes, I believe that would be Southern Jackson County or one of the other partner paramedic organizations or fire districts through a mutual aid call. But I think primary responsibility would be Southern Jackson County.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you, Chair.
Any other further discussion from the commissioners?
My concern remains the same as the previous topic, was just when it comes to the school district and can it handle this amount of students that could be possibly into that school. So density is also a concern of mine, but where I'm at.
Okay. Any other further discussion? Okay. We'll close the public hearing, and I would ask for a motion on the rezoning.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Banks.
what are you passing it to me for? I'd like to make a motion to approve the rezoning of Chapman Ridge Phase 2, RZ-07-21-7868.
All right, and we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Honeycutt, this will be a roll call vote.
Okay. Planning Commissioner Peel,
Nay.
Commissioner Graham,
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr,
Aye.
Commissioner Cradoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Honeycutt,
No.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Chair Graham, or Chair Sanderson,
Aye.
sorry. I just read that back. That motion carried.
All right, so this motion, motion carried, and this item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Wednesday, September 8th meeting at 6 p.m. I now ask for a motion on the PUD concept plan.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Banks.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Plan Development Concept Plan for Chapman Ridge Phase 2, PDC-07-21-7870 with the 4 staff conditions.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who was that? Commissioner Honeycutt. This will be a roll call vote.
Okay. Planning Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Commissioner Peel,
Nay.
Commissioner Graham,
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr, Commissioner Cradoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Honeycutt,
No.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner Billups,
You already had,
I know, you say aye.
I said aye.
Chair Sanderson,
Aye.
just wanted to make sure.
Making
That
sure
motion
you
carried.
All right, so that motion carried. This item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Wednesday, September 8th meeting at 6 p.m. And finally, I'd ask for a motion on the preliminary plat.
Let's see. Preliminary plat. Okay, we're over here.
Commissioner Banks? Is that
All right.
the motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Chapman Ridge Phase 2, PP-07-21-7869 with the 6 staff conditions.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Honeycutt is a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
6-2.
Okay, that motion carried.
Yep.
And, all right, thank you. So we'll be moving on to the, I'm gonna open the public hearing for agenda items, 6, conditional use permit CUP 07217890 for out front digital billboard. We'll also include agenda item 15, master alternative sign plan, ASP 07217891. We'll hear all the items together and vote on them separately. I would ask for exhibits from our city attorney, Jackie Sauer.
Mr. Chairman, I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on August 7, 2021. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
All right, thank you. I would ask, now ask for the staff's presentation. Mr. McGee.
Thank you, Chair Sanderson. Before you this evening is a request for a conditional use permit and a master sign plan for the conversion of an existing billboard to an electronic billboard at the northwest corner of Northeast Jefferson Street and Northeast 20th Street. The property is zone S0 ADP 0 Service Office Adams Dairy Parkway overlay, which allows outdoor advertising or a billboard with approval of a conditional use permit. A master sign plan is required to approval for any requirements that cannot be met under the sign code. Staff reviewed the digital billboard under the sign code regulations and finds that the proposed billboard meets the residential property setbacks, a sign height, width, and area requirements. However, through the master sign plan, the applicant is requesting a reduction in setback from other billboards and a waiver from setbacks as the billboard is located in a public right-of-way. The original billboard was constructed in 1986, which is the time was a private property. However, as the additional right-of-way was acquired to accommodate Northeast Jefferson Street and Northeast 20th Street, the billboard eventually became located in the right-of-way. The proposed billboard is approximately 2,300 feet from multifamily residential zoning on the north of the Northeast Jefferson Street and Northeast 20th Street. The proposed double-face billboard is 49 feet tall from grade to top of the sign area, and the sign area is 40 feet by 14 feet with a total of 672 square feet. Both the sign area and the sign height meet the sign code requirements. One of the requirements of the digital billboard conversion is the removal of other billboards on I-70. The applicant has 7 billboards elsewhere throughout Blue Springs that they'll be removing. As part of the master sign plan, the applicant is requesting to not have to remove the entire billboard structure below grade as required by the sign code. They are requesting to remove the billboard structure down to 6 inches above grade and cap and fill with gravel. This request is being made to create a little disturbance to the existing sites as possible. Staff reviewed the billboard under the outdoor advertising special use standards and finds that the standards have been met, that the billboard is appropriately located in commercial zoning district adjacent to I-70 and Northeast Jefferson frontage. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit and master sign plan with 4 conditions each. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Mr. McGee, are there any questions for staff by the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Phillips.
Is this the first time that we've used this provision to have signs removed for to accommodate a new digital sign?
Yes, that was a requirement that was added to the 2020 sign code. Specifically when there's an existing billboard along I-70 that they are going to convert into a digital billboard, that they remove at least 2 other billboards off-site of the I-70 corridor. So that was added in 2020, and it was intended to help remove some of the older billboards that are off of I-70 and modernize the billboards that are along I-70.
And if the applicant didn't have any other billboards, how would that?
Yeah, this is a situation where the applicant does have a lot of billboards that are off of I-70. If we were in a different situation where they don't have any billboards off of I-70, that would just be reviewed on a case-by-case and would come before the Planning Commission and City Council for determination on if they would approve an additional digital billboard along I-70 without the removal of other billboards off of I-70.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff by the commissioners? All right, thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward and make a presentation? So you'll need to be sworn in, state your name and address for the record, please.
I do. I do. Kyle Yancic. It's 2459 Summit Street, Kansas City, Missouri, 64108. So we have a small PowerPoint. McGee's getting ready. So we were notified a few months ago that the city purchased the property at 1304 West Main Street. And we have 2 junior posters, those are called junior posters, there against the property, on that property. And the city said that they're going to demolition, take down the building, so we would need to remove our signs. So when that happened, we got with my team, my boss, David Hyatt, and we're like, well, this is probably the opportunity. We probably need to put a digital in Blue Springs, obviously on I-70. Thank you. So we looked at our billboards along I-70, and we decided this is the best billboard to do that. It's at 1901 Northeast Jefferson Street. We do have a current lease with the city for that billboard. We do have the MoDOT permit to have the digital. So the key thing about this is this is an existing sign. We're not building a new sign. The other thing is we're just doing one face. We're not doing 2 digital faces. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear because we're not building a new sign. This is an existing sign. We are doing modifications to the sign, and that's only to hold the digital weight, hold the weight of the digital. Next slide, please. Thank you. So then we called the city and sat down with the community development department, and when we did that, we did not meet 3 requirements. And those requirements were that setbacks, the sign height, and spacing from another billboard. Well, this sign was built in 1986, and so at that time, we met the setbacks requirement. There was not Northeast 20th Street right there. And the sign height, we met that as well in 1986 when the sign was built. And then, and if you think about the sign height, if you built a new sign there today at the height that is the ordinance currently, there is a huge hill to the east of this location. You would not see that billboard until you were literally right on the billboard. You would not see it on today's ordinance. Then the third was the spacing from another billboard. So it says 2,000 feet from another sign. Well, you can see we're closest one, 600 feet. But back in the day, in 1986, we did meet the requirement. So all these, we did not meet these changes for the new ordinance that happened in 2020. So with that, we were willing to take down basically all our signs on the city streets. So we were willing to do that, which is actually, Jamarcus, next slide please, thank you, is actually 5 junior posters and 2 posters that are in red. The green ones are the junior posters. And if you add all that up, that's basically double the square footage of, basically that's 2 sign faces of a 14 by 48 that's on the highway. Next slide, please. These are the locations of those signs. And then what I did is I presented, so I'm going to go through District 2. So this is probably the hottest corner in Blue Springs with everything involved. We got a new stoplight right there. I live in Blue Springs. I live off Adams Dairy, so I've lived here my whole life. But this is like your eyes go to that. So what we're trying to do is, obviously, the whole ordinance, the new ordinance is what's remove signs, and we'll give you something for doing that. So we're going to take all these old signs down, clean up the city, And then for that, you know, we're gonna get a digital sign, but 80% of our advertisers are local businesses. So it's gonna be great for them because they can change their advertisements as often as they want. And it's not just gonna, see, all these signs are in local Blue Springs. So only a lot of people from here, you know, in the city are seeing them. Well, the great thing about putting them on I-70, putting a digital is you're gonna get people from out of state and other cities driving, and they're gonna say, oh, there's a Cane's Chicken there on Adams Dairy, we'll go there. It's just gonna create more tax money for the city. So that's the main sign there that I think everyone references and always sees, is that beautiful double stack junior poster there. The next slide, please, thank you. And that's just the back side of it. And then Marcus, you can go to the next one. And so this is the one that's there along the building that we're taking down. Those two there. And then next one there. And then this is the this is called a poster, and it's there on Woods Chapel Road and 40 Highway. It's a single face. And then District 3, we've got the one in the field. It's an 8-sheet junior poster, front and back. That's the back side of that. And then the other one is down the hill, almost to Colburn. 8-sheet there. And then the last one is on Colburn, which is a double-face poster. These signs have been here for a very, very long time. And the great thing is they have been, local advertisers have been on them. So they've been used. And that's really my presentation. I think the main thing is we're trying to do what the ordinance kind of said. And that was, the new ordinance is like, well, you know, take the old signs down and put up a digital sign. And so that's kind of what we're here for. We want to clean up the city and then also be able to put something up clean. And those digitals are great because you can control them. If they go bad, we can fix them. Usually there's never any issues. If there is, they're easy fixes. So thank you for your time.
All right, are there any questions for the applicant by the commissioners?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Peel.
Yes, sir. How often do these signs, as you say, the posters, do they get updated or do they get maintained or looked at? How often?
So they vary. So the 8 sheets, we try to put a flex on them so they're wrapped. A lot of, you know, like we got, I believe maybe the one on the field, and I know the one down here on the corner of Colburn, it's got an insurance lady on it, and it's wrapped. So they try to keep them up for like a year because that's how good the material is.
Mm-hmm.
Just better option for them. But yes, if they're bad, we change them out because a lot of them, if they're not wrapped, they're pasted on. So they're glued, and then you throw them on, and what happens if they get wet, then they finally tear. And so it's just to maintain them. It's just having eyes. That's what it is. You got to have your operations crew be able to be out there to have eyes on them. Okay. And us, we're out in the field every day. So.
Do you still lease property from Blue Springs for each one of these?
No, so these are on private property.
Okay.
So the only one we have with the city is the one we'd like to put that digital conversion on, which would also be another benefit to the city because there would actually be a rental increase in that as well. So
let me ask you one more question so you would have to go to the leaser
yep.
to talk to them about removing the sign, or how would?
So a lot of our signs, we either can take them down whenever we want, or we have a 30 to 90 day period at the end of the lease term to take it down. So some leases could be year to year. So they go from January to December. I got to give them a 30-day notice that we're going to take the sign down.
Okay. Do you also have to follow the removal rules by the city ordinance? Or?
Yeah. So we discussed that, and in your ordinance, we will do the. Trying to think of the demolition.
Yeah, we do require demolition permits to remove the billboards, and the requirement under the sign code, under the construction standards, is that when any sign is removed, it has to be all components of it have to be removed underground. The applicant is requesting given the depth of the billboards and in a lot of cases, the site restrictions where the billboards are located, to just remove 6 inches below grade, cap, and then gravel over those. So that is part of the master alternative sign plan request this evening.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
we like to do that just because, instead of destroying the ground, like a good example would be that Seventh Heaven. There's their on-premise sign right there. You got a lot of stuff underground. You're disturbing the ground if we're taking out a footing, and in 3 years that thing is going to look really bad. So a lot of times we just cut them 6 inches below grade, fill them with gravel, and then cap it. Like example, if it's on parking lot, we just asphalt it over, and no one can trip. There's no hazard, and that's the main thing that we worry about.
Okay, also, Chair, if you'd allow me one more.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the sign that we're discussing here. Is that, when was the last time it was maintained?
The bulletin,
Whatever was on that.
the billboard on I-70.
Yeah.
I don't have, like, when we usually have to do service, I don't know the correct word, but we have to basically do an audit on our billboards for safety, and we try to do those once a year on those billboards. So I could look at that for you, but a lot of times what we see are our biggest thing is people stealing electrical from our signs. So it's destroying our signs, basically, stealing power, stealing copper. And then again, it's eyes, we gotta have eyes on it. So if the lights are out, we fix the lights. Paint, that's kind of a thing. We just look at each sign and determine which ones need to be painted. I will tell you, if this does get approved, we will paint the structure black. So it will be repainted. That's what our company, we're doing all black structures. So it will look brand new.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Chair.
Yep. Any other questions for the applicant by the commissioners? All right, thank you.
Yep.
I would now ask if there's anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this project. Okay. I would ask if there's anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition of this project.
Can we add the PowerPoint as Exhibit 9 to the record?
Thank you. Any further discussion by the commissioners?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Peel.
The only thing that bothers me about this project is the 65-foot from top to bottom of the sign, and then I think it's going to be like 51 feet up in the air, so it's higher than the old sign. I think that's correct.
No, everything's the same.
It's at the same height?
Nothing's changing on that.
Okay, and I think there was like 3 things that didn't comply on here. But anyway, I had some concerns on that.
Okay. Any other further discussion by commissioners? Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion for the CUP.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Banks.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for out front digital billboard, CUP-07-21-7890 with the 4 staff conditions.
All right, thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second from Commissioner Honeycutt. This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Cradoff?
Aye.
Commissioner Honeycutt?
Aye.
Commissioner Banks?
Aye.
Commissioner Billups?
Aye.
Commissioner Peel?
No.
Commissioner Graham?
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr?
Aye.
Chair Sanderson?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
So the motion carried with the 4 staff conditions to be recommended and heard by the city council at their Wednesday, September 8th meeting at 6 p.m. I would now entertain a motion for the master sign plan.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Banks.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the master alternative sign plan for the out front digital billboard, ASP-07-21-7891 with the 4 staff conditions.
All right, I have a motion and a second from Commissioner Honeycutt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thanks.
Okay. So that motion carried with the 4 staff conditions. Okay. So I'm gonna ask real quick if, can you raise a hand if anybody needs a break, for like 5 minutes?
Okay.
Okay. You wanna do that? Okay, so we're gonna take just a quick 5-minute break. It is about 8:20, so we'll come back at 8:25.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Get it done.
So next item on the agenda, we're gonna be opening a public hearing for item 7, conditional use permit CUP 07217893 for Ron Mather Billboard. And I was asked for exhibits from our city attorney Jackie Summer.
Mr. Chairman, I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on August 7, 2021. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
All right, thank you. And as for staff presentation, Mr. McGee.
Thank you, Chair. The applicant is requesting for a conditional use permit for the billboard on Ron Mather's property at 651 Northeast Jefferson Street. The property is zone RC PUD R0, Regional Commercial Plan Unit Development Restricted Overlay, which allows outdoor advertising or a billboard with approval of a conditional use permit. Staff reviewed the billboard under the sign code regulations and finds that the proposed billboard meets all development standards contained within the sign code. The billboard meets the minimum 2,000-foot separation standard from other billboards along I-70 and Jefferson Street. The nearest billboard is located approximately 2,900 feet to the east between Northeast Adams Dairy Road and Lake Remembrance. All other standards have been met, including a minimum 300-foot setback from residential. The proposed billboard is approximately 361 feet from the residential zoning to the east of Jefferson Corner self-storage. All other setbacks based on the sign area and height have been met from the front and side property lines. The proposed double-faced billboard is 54 feet tall from grade to top of a sign area. The sign area is 40 feet by 14 feet for a total 672 square foot. Both sign area and sign height meet the sign code requirements. Staff reviewed the billboard under outdoor advertising special use standards and finds that all standards have been met and the billboard is approximately located in the commercial zoning district adjacent to I-70 and Northeast Jefferson Street. Staff recommends approval of conditional use permit with 3 conditions, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you. Any questions for staff by the commissioners? All right, looks like none. Thank you, Mr. McGee. Would the applicant like to come forward and make a presentation? You'll need to be sworn in. State your name and address for the record, please.
I do. David English, AdTrend 14450 South 71 Highway in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm the vice president there, and this is Jim here with me. We are the largest locally owned outdoor advertising provider in Kansas City. A few differences between this and what you guys just saw is this is a static face. It's not a digital that we had spoke about in the previous deal. So we'll be one side, one advertiser per side. Which is significant enough. We've got billboards throughout the metro, but as locally owned, we're excited to start stretching our legs into this side of the metro as we grow our plant. But I'll answer any questions you guys have and about the board and go from there.
Any questions for the applicant from the commissioners? Looks like none. Thank you, Mr. English. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this project? Anybody in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to this project? Okay. Seeing none, any further discussion from the commissioners? Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for a motion on the CUP.
Chair?
Commissioner Peel.
I move that conditional use permit CUP 07217893 for Ron Mather billboard, with the 3 conditions be approved as submitted by staff.
I have a motion from Commissioner Peel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Honeycutt. This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Banks?
Aye.
Commissioner Billups?
Aye.
Commissioner Peel?
Aye.
Commissioner Graham?
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr?
Aye.
Commissioner Cradoff?
Aye.
Commissioner Honeycutt?
Aye.
Chair Sanderson?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimous.
So the motion carried with 3 staff conditions. This item will be recommended and heard at the City Council at their Wednesday, September 8th meeting at 6 p.m. I'll now open the public hearing for agenda item 8, site plan design review with alternative development standards, SPDR 07217892, Blue Springs High School pool renovation, and ask for exhibits from our City Attorney Jackie Summer.
I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on August 7, 2021. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title 4 Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
All right, thank you. And as for the staff presentation, Ms. Bright.
Before you this evening is a request for approval of a site plan design review with alternative development standards. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing Blue Springs High School pool facility, construct a new facility, and reconfigure the existing parking surface at 2401 Northwest Ashton Drive. The property is located at the northwest corner of Northwest Ashton Drive and Northwest 22nd Street. It is zoned public land and open space and includes approximately 3.38 acres. The renovation of the pool facility includes a request for alternative development standards since the existing parking surface is encroaching into the required parking setback. Staff feels the requested 5-foot parking setback is appropriate since the parking surface is existing. The applicant is also proposing to close the existing access point along Northwest 22nd Street and add a new one just north. There is also a second access being proposed along Northwest Ashton Drive at the southeast corner of the parking lot. The applicant has proposed landscaping along Northwest 22nd Street to meet the screening requirements per the UDC. The new pool facility will be approximately 19,000 square feet, and the materials will consist of precast concrete, silver metal paneling, and stamped concrete to resemble brick. There is also a proposed tennis court along the eastern edge of the property and a proposed pickleball court at the north end of the property. The requested parking setback is the only deviation from the Unified Development Code. Bike parking is being proposed on the site, and there is existing sidewalk along Northwest 22nd Street and Northwest Ashton Drive, which will be altered slightly with the closure of the access point along Northwest 22nd Street and the reconfiguration of the park traffic pattern along Northwest Ashton Drive. Staff reviewed the application and finds that all review criteria, except for the alternative development standards for a reduction in the parking setback, have been met. Staff recommends approval of the site plan design review with alternative development standards with one condition, and I'm here for any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff by the commissioners? All right, see none, thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward and make a presentation? You'll need to be sworn in. State your name and address for the record, please.
I do. Charlie Bell, Blue Springs School District, 1801 West Vesper, 64015. Commissioners, thank you. It's been a long evening. Appreciate your public service to our community. We certainly would appreciate your support of this project as our school district continues to plan and proceed after the bond and levy transfer support from our community just a few weeks ago. This is a really important addition, renovation, upgrade to our current pool and aquatic center for our high school swim team, our high school physical education programs, our elementary swimming that we do at both pools on the north and south side of town as we do swim lessons for our elementary students, and then also as a public amenity for the general public as we continue to have hours of the day where this is open for public use. So would appreciate your support and certainly answer any of your questions that you may have at this point.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant by the commissioners?
I have one, Mr. Chair.
Yep, Commissioner Banks.
I do have a question. I do have a question. Since if you're planning on blocking this off from 19th to 22nd, is there going to be a access for a bicycle path from on through Ashton from, I guess, from 22nd on the way over to 19th, the bicycle path? Or are you blocking? You said it was going to be gated over here for the teachers, but to the north there, closer to the, well, it's kind of a mess. This isn't the plan I
Yes.
wanted to see, but
So there will be sidewalks, and there will be access through that parking lot as well. There's not a bike trail specifically planned, but there would be pedestrian and access across through that area.
for bicycles.
Let me defer to our civil engineer here for just a second. They may have a little more.
I mean, I know you don't want to go through a parking lot per se, but, you know.
And you know the drill, you gotta be sworn in and
Yep.
state your name and address, please.
I do. James David Ratley with MKEC Engineering. Address is 11827 West 112th Street in Suite 200, Overland Park, Kansas 66210. As part of another application for the Freshman Center, it's being proposed that Ashton Road would be vacated, so that wouldn't be a public access anymore.
Right.
But we can entertain the idea to have access for within the school campus for students, but it wouldn't be for public access from 19th Street to 22nd Street.
Okay, because we have a lot of people that ride bicycles, and that road is the way they go.
Okay.
And now it's gonna be blocked off because we have a lot of hills, and they have to be particular on which direction they go, and that's the hill that they can make
Okay.
when they ride distance. And so if you block it off, then now they're gonna have to try to figure out another one. You go Walnut, you go Vesper, you go Hardy
Sure.
Mines, they're not all good.
Right, and there will be, there isn't a trail path there now. This is a standard sidewalk along Ashton
Right,
Drive.
well, they
correct?
ride on the street.
They ride on the street,
And you
so,
aren't gonna be able to ride on the street here. You're
Gotcha.
blocking it off.
gotcha. So that's
So-
something we can consider or look at, I guess, if that's, we
Chair,
have not looked at that.
Chair Sanderson, if I may, the questions that are related to.
Future application.
Right, right.
These are
Talk
for the
about-
future application. This application is just for the site plan design review.
Got it.
With the
Right.
alternative development standards for the pool facility only, and I suggest that we focus on that
Okay.
before we get into the other two applications.
Commissioner
Okay,
Banks, you
I'm
good for
sorry, it
holding
was
that
just
question?
that,
Yep.
it was, they're wanting to block it off, so.
Yep, understood.
Sorry.
Any other questions by the commissioners, for the applicant on this application? Okay, you're done, thank you. All right, is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this project?
Mhm. Well,
Anybody in the audience that'd like to speak in opposition to this project? Yep, so you have to, be sworn in, state your name and address for the record.
I do. Carrie Martin, 2306 Northwest Kensington Court. I'm questioning whether or not it does have to do with the closure that's going to be right in front of the pool. You're dumping traffic from 22nd Street onto the outer road. The outer road is not equipped for extra traffic. There are no shoulders. There are blind spots. That road right there, pulling out of that road, if that blinking light isn't working, you're taking your life into your own hands. This is a very bad proposal. And we'll get into what Ms. Banks brought up later on. But I do not believe that the outer road will handle the traffic that will be imposed with everybody dumping out from 22nd and then everybody dumping out and coming through our neighborhood.
Okay. Any questions for this witness from the commissioners regarding this application? Okay, thanks. Any other speakers in opposition? Yep. Just be sworn in, state your name and address for the record, please.
I do. John Michael, 2306 Northwest Yorkshire Drive. My biggest concern I will hold for here in a few minutes when we start talking about the closure. But I would like to address what the school district is proposing here based on their lack of concern their lack of ability to communicate, and their lack of ability to follow through with the promises that they have made to us in this neighborhood. As you can see, there are heads shaky. I'm very disappointed that there's nobody else here to address you tonight. I'm very disappointed that the police department is not here to address you tonight. The fire district is not here to address you
If you
tonight.
can stay by the microphone, just so they can hear you.
Because of this being the school district. They bully us. They do as they please. Now you remember here, not too long ago, they put in, and you approved to put in this new soccer field, right? There was supposed to be drainage done, correct? My backyard washes out. My neighbor's yard washes out. My fence was destroyed by the people putting this in. They have shut down this road that allows access to power and utilities to where they come through my backyard when there's a power outage, because the school district does not care about us. So now we're going to take down the water, or the pool, and we have this huge drainage issue already that occurs right next to the school, to the pool. What are they going to do to fix that to where the city is not constantly out there cleaning up the trash out of the gutters from the school district since they took over the aquatic center? What are we going to do about the lighting that shines into our residences that we're not supposed to? What are we going to do to address the residents who have been here for 20 years and have supported this school district? My living 93-year-old grandmother went to the high school on Vesper, the original high school. My father graduated from the freshman center. I graduated. My brother graduated from Blue Springs High School. I put 5 kids through this high school. I built with my own money, my own time, the batting cages at Blue Springs High School for the softball team. I'm heavily invested. I have a granddaughter that's going to be going through the school district, but they don't care about us. It's time for the Blue Springs School District to start looking out and taking care of the residents of the past, of the future that are going to go through the school. Stop keeping up with the Joneses. Stop worrying about competing with the city of Lee Summit and the Lee Summit School District. We're not Shawnee Mission, folks. We are Blue Springs. You guys talk about small town community. You hear these ordinances all the time and all these requests to keep us small town, but big ideas. Put them in check. Quit letting them bully the ones of us that live there and have supported them. And I'll get into what I have for the street closures and all of that as we move forward in the presentation.
Any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right, thank you. Any other speakers for, in opposition of this project? Okay. Any other further discussion by the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Kraft.
Have we provided a traffic study for this project?
I would have to defer to, yeah, sure, yes, please come forward.
We have not done a traffic study for the pool. Do I have to swear it again? I'm sorry.
Just state your name one more time.
James David Ratley, MKEC Engineering. We did a traffic study for what we're doing for the road closure, for the outer road.
Okay.
And that's something we can discuss more on the next application. But for this particular application, we did not, because we didn't change the circulation or change parking count, student count, or any of that. So it didn't warrant to do a traffic study for that particular application, but we did on the next one.
Understood. Any other further questions on that? Okay.
Yeah.
Any other discussion by commissioners for this application? Okay, and I will close this public hearing. And I would ask for a motion on the site plan with alternative development standards.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Peel.
I move this site plan design review with alternative development standards 0721 7892 for Blue Springs High School pool renovation with the one staff condition be approved as submitted by staff.
Okay, have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Honeycutt. This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Rohr,
Aye.
Commissioner Cradoff?
I think I'm gonna vote aye on this, but I do have some concerns about the gentleman expressing about some of the things that are being done at some of our school facilities. I think we need to keep your perspectives in line and really take a close look at those as well. But I'm gonna vote aye on this.
Planning Commissioner Honeycutt?
Aye.
Commissioner Banks?
I have concerns, but I also have concerns, but I'm going to vote aye.
Okay. Commissioner Billups?
Aye.
Commissioner Peel?
Aye.
Commissioner Graham?
Aye.
Chair Sanderson?
Aye.
That motion is carried and it's a final vote.
Okay, motion is carried with one staff condition. We'll next move to the next application, so I'm gonna open the public hearing for agendas item 9 and 11, rezoning RZ 07217895 and PUD Concept Plan PUDC 07217899 for Blue Springs High School Freshman Center. And it will also include agenda item 16, preliminary plat PP 07217898. We'll hear all those items together and then vote on them separately. And we're gonna have item 10 as a separate public hearing, just FYI. And then I'm gonna ask for exhibits from our city attorney, Jackie Summer.
For RZ 07217895, I offer the following exhibits into the record. 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on August 7, 2021. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference. And for PDC 07217899, I offer the following exhibits into the record. 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on August 7, 2021. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna ask for the staff presentation. Ms. Kelly?
Good evening. The next item on the agenda for your consideration is for the request from the Blue Springs School District for a rezoning, plan development concept plan, and preliminary plat for the Blue Springs High School at 2000 Northwest Ashton Drive, which is located south of Northwest 22nd Street and Northwest Ashton Drive. The project also includes the parcel of land to the north addressed at 2009 Northwest Ashton Drive. The purpose of the proposal is for 2 building expansions to accommodate the freshman class, which will now be relocated to this facility rather than the current freshman center, which is a separate campus. This application is in conjunction with a vacation application for the vacation of Northwest Ashton Drive between Northwest 22nd Street and Northwest 19th Street, which will be discussed in further detail separately after the rezoning, plan development concept plan, and the preliminary plan. 2000 Northwest Ashton Drive is currently zoned FS7 Single Family District and is approximately 38.38 acres. And 2009 Northwest Ashton Drive is currently zoned SF7 Single Family District and SO Service Office District and is approximately 0.97 acres. The applicant requests that both properties be rezoned to SF7/PD for Single Family District with a planned development. In addition to detached housing, schools are permitted by right in the SF7 Single Family Zoning District. The purpose of the rezoning to a planned development, PD, is due to the building type and large size of the property, which requires prominent civic buildings over 30 acres to have approved campus master plans through the PD process. The building expansions, Sorry about that. The building expansions will total approximately 83,000 square feet and will include a new building entry, 36 classrooms, administrative offices, a kitchen, cafeteria, and a multi-purpose room. Building materials on the new addition will match existing materials, which includes a mix of brick and metal panels. The new addition will be compatible with the massing and projections of the existing building. The maximum height of the buildings will be approximately 36 feet above the grade. The proposal includes the demolition of the annex building currently located at 2009 Northwest Ashton Drive and the expansion and reconfiguration of parking lots to facilitate the development of a dedicated on-site bus loop and a separate student drop-off and pick-off loop. Additional parking will be needed to accommodate the staff that is being relocated to the site from the former freshman center. No increase in student parking will be needed as freshmen do not drive to school. The bus count will remain the same. A total of 1,018 parking spaces are proposed, including 983 standard spaces and 35 ADA spaces. This is an increase of 37 spaces from the existing 981 spaces. A parking study and memo have been provided. The applicant has requested one modification to the following regulations through the plan development process, which is to allow for a reduction in the minimum parking space and drive aisle size requirement. The proposed parking spaces with the expansion are 9 feet wide by 19 feet long, with drive aisles that are 24 feet in some areas. These do not meet the current minimum requirement, which is 9 feet by 19.5 feet and 26 feet wide drive aisles. The applicant is asking for a deviation from these minimum requirements. Staff supports this request for a reduction in parking space and drive aisle size because it is consistent with the existing parking lot dimensions that were approved at an earlier date when the minimum size requirements were less. Bicycle parking will be reviewed during the site plan review. If approved, construction is anticipated to begin in November 2021 with completion in August of 2023. Staff recommends approval of rezoning the planned development concept plan with 3 conditions and preliminary plat with 4 conditions. And I wanted to add that the conditions have been amended to coincide with the street vacation to allow for the building permits to be obtained prior to the final plat being approved and recorded. The original conditions had stated that prior to building permit issuance, that the final plat must be approved and recorded with the county. That's been amended to state that prior to occupancy, the final plat must be approved with and recorded with the county, so as not to hold up the building permit process. And I will stand for any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the staff by the commissioners? Commissioner Billups.
I'm not sure if this is, I'm not sure where to address this, let's put it that way. I know we're hearing the vacation of the street on a separate hearing. But because this plan involves the land that's proposed to be vacated, how does, if we were to approve this and then did not approve the vacation or something, how would that enter, how would that react, how would those two things work together?
As the planning commission is recommending this evening to both on both the rezoning and concept plan to the city council, and then also making a recommendation to the vacation, the city council would end up having the final say on those. So those could be voted on independently from one another by the planning commission. But the rezoning and concept plan is contingent upon, in many ways as proposed right now, is contingent upon that vacation taking place. However, if the rezoning to a planned development could still be approved independent, the concept plan would have to be amended at a later date to, if the vacation were to be denied by the city council. But that's kind of more of a question left for the city council, because they're the ones that are gonna have to reconcile the vacation and approving the zoning and concept plan, as the planning commission just makes the recommendation.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for staff by the commissioners? Okay. Hearing none, I would ask if the applicant would like to make a presentation on the freshman center. And so there's a separate public hearing, so you have to be sworn in and state your name and address, please.
I do. Charlie Belt, 1801 West Vesper, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64015. This is a continuation of what the school board started in 2018 with the bond and levy transfer vote, and then the subsequent construction at Blue Springs South. The ultimate goal would be to make both high schools 9-12 high schools again. After 20 years of having our ninth graders at the freshman center on Vesper, the school board decided that it was time to make that move and take ninth graders to both high schools. We did that. I was the principal at Blue Springs South for 9 years when that happened. It was a successful, challenging, but successful construction project and a really good transition to move our freshmen to the high school campus instead of having the freshman center. The freshman center certainly served its purpose and served our community and our school district quite well. But for a number of factors that I don't need to get into at this late hour this evening, it was time to change. And we did that, and it has been a great move for the community on the south side of 40 Highway in our school district to have a 9-12 comprehensive high school and reduce the number of transitions from one building to another for our adolescents. We'd like to do the same at Blue Springs High School, and it is time, and that was what the school board said we were going to try to do, and that's what this proposal is. Separately, the vacation of Ashton Drive and then the improvement of traffic circles you'll hear more about. But specifically, the outer road is an issue. It is a safety hazard, and we'd like to address that separately and have a plan to do so at 19th and 22nd Street. I know that's not what you're considering now, but certainly does factor in. And we agree with the neighbors that the traffic pattern has been studied. The outer road is not safe as it currently sits for our high school drivers, our high school staff, and neighbors and community members, and anyone that drives there. So we're working with property owners to make sure that we improve those areas at 19th and 22nd in the outer road. With that, that's probably enough for now. I'll stop and see if you have questions.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant by the commissioners? Commissioner Pratt?
Charlie, what about the parking, the overflow? You know, a lot over the years they parked in the church parking lots and so forth. Is that going to alleviate a big problem, a big portion of this?
We would expect to continue to have a good working partnership with our churches to the north of Blue Springs High School and continue to partner with them. The additional parking, the few additional parking spaces that are included in this plan, as well as the pool renovation parking lot, we feel definitely accommodates our staff and student parking needs on a day in, day out basis, and for that matter, special events. I can refer back to our civil engineer again if you have specifics regarding parking studies and number of spaces and so on.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for the applicant from the commissioners? I see none. Thank you. All right. I will now ask anybody if there's anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this project. I would ask if there's anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition. I do have a speaker form for a Matt Roberts. Yeah, great. If you could just.
We'll say first, this may fit better with the vacation. Should I speak out on that issue later?
So that's up to you, but if you would like to speak about this one, this particular application.
I'll do it now.
Okay, so yeah.
Yes, I do.
You'd state your name and address, please.
My name is Matt Roberts. I live at 2913 Northwest Castle Drive in Blue Springs. That's in Kings Ridge. That's the neighborhood that's just to the west of the high school. Mr. Commissioner, all the commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. My concern is, I believe, similar to what Commissioner Banks raised. I don't think the proposal provides for good bicycle and pedestrian access over or across the area of the expanded campus. What I'd first like to talk about is a couple of things from the city's comprehensive plan that are relevant to this, and then I've got 3 points about that. The city's comprehensive plan has several different things in it. One of the steps and things listed under next steps for downtown is to improve the cycling infrastructure so that downtown becomes a cycling destination. There are several goals. Some of those include that every household should be within a 5-minute bike ride or a 10-minute walk of the Parks and Trail system. There's a goal to create a transportation system in which at least 20% of all local trips are by bicycling or walking, and to reduce household transportation costs and per capita vehicle miles traveled by 5% a year. There's a goal that 100% of parks and open spaces should be accessible by the bicycle and trail system or by bicycle and pedestrian accessible streets. And I don't think this plan makes sense with what's in the comprehensive plan. So my first point, and as the school district has discussed, if you build this as proposed, some of the existing pedestrian and bicycle traffic will go around the block to the north. It'll go up 22nd to South Outer to 19th, or the other way around. As has been discussed, that's not a great place to ride a bike or walk at this time. I know that there are some plans to build some roundabouts on South Outer at 19th and 22nd. I believe those roundabouts are going to have crosswalks. There's going to be additional sidewalks to fill in the places on South Outer. There's a statement in the high school plan that the vacation of Ashton won't happen until there's a certain level of completion done on those roundabouts at South Outer. And the question I would have is, what does that process look like? What does that mechanism look like? Does it go through Public Works? Does it go through the Planning Commission? And also, when you say the roundabout is, okay, the roundabouts are done enough that we can close Ashton, does that just mean that the vehicle lanes are there, or does that mean that the whole infrastructure is there, the crosswalks, the sidewalks, and the pedestrian things, and just to make sure that you have some alternate path before you close Ashton? So my second point is that if you do vacate Ashton and build this plan as proposed, you're still going to have bicycle and pedestrian traffic in the area where Ashton used to be, whether you want it or not. And so it's easier to plan for that now in the plan rather than to try to deal with that later. And the reason why I think that you will have that traffic is you're bringing younger students to school. They don't drive, so they're going to have friends in their neighborhoods on either side of the school that they're going to want to go over there after school, things like that. It was mentioned that there's 2 churches immediately north of the high school. There's another one a little bit east. People might like to walk to church. One of those churches is the polling place for the neighborhood, and I know people walk up there to vote. So my questions along that line are, there's a proposed driveway, and you can see it on the east side of the roundabout that connects that roundabout to the new proposed parking lot. It's not clear. I had some email conversations with Mr. Wright this past week as to, is that going to be paved? Is it going to be gravel? What's it going to be? There was some discussion as to whether or not there would be a gate there, that would prevent pedestrian or bicycle access. I'm not sure in all the versions of the plan that there's sidewalks along that driveway. There might be an alternative of going through some of the parking lots to the north, the new parking lot where the old education center building is. So I think there's, some scope there to provide some kind of pedestrian or bicycle access across there. And so my third point, which I believe the civil engineering gentleman may have addressed, is I didn't see anything in the materials about had a transportation impact study been done. Not a parking study, but a transportation impact study. And section 5240 of the Design and Construction Manual has several things that would warrant such a study. One of them is, will it generate more than 50 trips in the peak hour? I don't know how many students would be moving to campus with this. I know there's about 1,200 ninth grade students in all of the district. I would assume that we're talking several hundred, maybe 400 or 500 of them moving to the school. If 10% of their parents decide to take the kids to school that day, that generates those 50 trips that would warrant that study. So, like I said, I live in Kings Ridge. We have 2 sort of immovable objects that are hard to get around if you're walking or you're on a bicycle. And those are I-70 on the north and the Kansas City Southern on the south. And I would just ask you not to make the high school an immovable object on the east side that makes it hard to get through. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any questions for this witness by the commissioners? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, are there any other, anybody else in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to this project? Yes, if you can come forward, please be sworn in, state your name and address for the record.
I do. My name is George Martin. I live at 2306 Northwest Kensington Court, Blue Springs, Missouri 64015. So the Blue Springs School District in the past couple of years put a beautiful student drop off in right north of where this is, and now they're going to tear it out to put parking. That's a waste of money. That is not seeing the future.
Mr. Martin, if you could just address the commissioners, I'd appreciate it.
That's a waste of money.
Thank you.
We pay a lot of money in taxes. We want to support the schools. I'm an accountant by trade. That is a waste of money. I urge you not to approve this.
Okay, are there any questions for this witness by the commissioners? there anybody else in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition to this project? Yeah, please come forward and be sworn in. State your name and address, please.
I do. Brett Kessinger, 16509 East 35th Street, South, Independence, Missouri, 64055. I am, for the last 7 years, I've been the facilities manager at Harvest Baptist Church, and for the most part, I love everything, but just the whole Ashton Street thing is weird, and I feel like there's a better plan out there. You just haven't really tried. But just to regard, we had a gentleman speak that they want to maintain a good working relationship with the church and parking for overflow and football events. I just want to guess on the record say there is not a good working relationship with the schools. We had an agreement with Bob Jerome. I think he's heads over some of that stuff, to plow our lot, and they plow our lot, and we let them park there for anytime, anywhere, no questions asked. That just slowly over the years stopped happening. The first year when I took over as facilities manager, I asked Bob, like, hey, where do I go, and how many people do work in your office? Because I want to bring a Christmas gift, just, some food, something. And he was just like, do not, it was really stern. It was like, do not now or ever bring anything to my guys as a thank you. And so that was just like, whoa, wow. And it's just gone downhill since year one, to the point where we now just plow our own lot, salt our own lot, and that's fine. We don't really care, but I just wanted to say that, especially the gentleman before. I do get the sense that the school they don't follow through, whether it's people's properties, water runoff. I've heard a lot of just lack of following through. With this plan, I just see a lack of planning in general. Like, really? Killing Ashton, that's your best idea? $100+ million, that's what you got? So that's, just wanted to address that. We don't really have a good working relationship, but we also don't really care. We want people to use our stuff, and we're actually there to honestly get taken advantage of. So it doesn't really matter. So that's kind of our MO. We just want to love people and do what you want, and we'll just turn the other cheek. So that's all I got.
All right. Any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Any other? Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition to this project?
I would like to reiterate the opposition to.
So if you're gonna come, yep, you need to have you sworn in and state your name and address,
sworn
please.
in again?
Yes.
I do. John Michael again. I live on Yorkshire Drive. My backyard butts up. As you've heard, there's been several people that have said the same thing, and that's the biggest issue that I hope you take away from this tonight, is the lack of community, the lack of follow through on behalf of the school district. Once again, they're getting ready to do all of this demolition, and they're going to do all of this destruction to the area. What is going to hold them accountable that they are going to do what you're telling them and you're agreeing to when you agree to these things? The runoff that is going to occur from this, that is going to once again go down the hill from the pool area where they're getting ready to destroy all of the parking, is going to go right down into our neighborhoods. Not only now is it the people that are south of Ashton, that their yards and their properties are dropping, the values are dropping, the destruction that is occurring, and now you're going to have this occur to the north. It's going to include a city park that is going to be affected by the damage that the school district is planning on conducting here. So I really hope that you're taking away that it's not that we're all against the school district, because that is not it whatsoever. What we're against is the school district making promises to you, to us, and then not following through. And that's the theme that I think that is going on here. My other remarks again are for Ashton, and I'll hold those for that time.
Okay, if you, one
sorry.
second. Yeah, no, that's okay. Are there any questions for this witness from the commissioners? All right, thanks. Are there any others in the audience who'd like to speak in opposition to this project? Okay. Would the applicant like to make any responses to some of the statements made by the witnesses? So I can't.
Nice swearing again.
I think you've been.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I'm gonna lose
sure.
track, but it should be this way. Yeah.
James David Ratley. To address the issues or concerns with site runoff, I know one was mentioned about the pool facility, and I'll address that. I know that's not part of this particular application, but just to help ease the concerns. The amount of impervious area for that site is being reduced than what's currently out there now. Therefore, we're not impacting the downstream condition in a negative way because we're reducing the amount of impervious area that's there. Because there's an existing pool that's getting demolished, that's exterior pool is getting demolished and not putting back. So overall, as part of the drainage study that was done for this for that application, there is a decrease in impervious area. Now back to this particular application, the amount of runoff is going to be an increase just because of the increase in impervious area, but there is an existing underground detention facility that was installed in the parking lot as part of the previous work that was done working with the city for the increase in runoff when we were doing that project at the time. So there is an underground detention facility in there that was that took an account for some of that increase and proposed or future increase, but there are still going to be a net increase that we're going to have to expand that by, which we're in the process of doing. That'll be as part of the final plan submittal for this project for the site runoff. Vacation Ashton, I know that's could be next item, but as mentioned before, there is roundabouts that were designed at 19th and Outer Road and 22nd and Outer Road that would help with the site distance issues, with the traffic safety, pedestrian safety. There is sidewalk connections that run through and along Outer Road, 19th and 22nd for all those connections, and we're also providing the roundabout 22nd and Ashton to help with all the redirection of the traffic, and the traffic study was done. An extensive traffic study for all the surrounding perimeter streets was done to determine what would need to be done to help with that change in traffic and loading of the traffic for that.
Are there any questions for the applicant from the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Crowder.
I'd like to say, I think Blue Springs has some of the best high schools that are out there. And it's great that you guys are trying to give students the best experience in there and with what they're trying to do in their lives. I'm wondering, with a couple of these conditions that the citizens have expressed out here today, is there any way we can can we come up with some kind of conditions to provide that you guys we can hold you accountable, for instance, for the water runoff in the future? If something happens, that you'd be responsible, you would have to come back and repair that situation. And the other thing is, with the transportation impact with the bikes and the pedestrian, I think that was important. That was a valid point that the gentleman made as well, because I think that's going to be a big issue down the line. Is there anything that you can do as far as that's concerned?
I'll say from the site runoff, I mean, to get a building permit through the city of Blue Springs, it's required to meet the standard for standard runoff related issue, like for the existing pre-development, post-development conditions. So that's what we would do, and we'd back that.
Okay.
As a civil engineer, that would be something that we wouldn't cut corners on. That would be something that would be a standard process that we provide.
Okay.
Now, for the pedestrian connectivity and all that, that's something we'd have to discuss with the school district and see what we can come up with. And I think there's something we probably could definitely do to provide that connection, but it's something we'd have to work out with the school district and see how we can do that.
Thank you.
Any further questions for the applicant by the commissioners?
I
Commissioner
guess
Banks?
it's not really a question, but I do think since you're bringing the 8th grade there, and they don't, no, 9th grade, I'm sorry, kids. It's been a while since I've had kids in schools. 9th grade there, which I think is great. they don't drive, but they could do ride bikes. And I don't know, I guess I'm a bicyclist, but I think it is going to be important to have people that walk if they vote there at the church and bicycle, to really consider a path, not where they have to go through the teacher's parking lot. But you have to consider that you're bringing people together to the pool for, meets and everything else. They could ride their bike, so.
And I'll add to that too a little bit too, is as you can, maybe you can see on this one or you can see on the site plan that we're provided, but there is a sidewalk that maybe there is the connection. I know somebody previously brought up the concern with fire department connection or fire department access. We are providing, that's the reason why that's going to be gated off, or we haven't worked out all the details yet, but it's either going to be gated off or it's going to be some sort of retractable bollard or something that provides access for the fire department to get from 19th Street to 22nd Street straight through the parking lot if they need to in a case of emergency. But there is a sidewalk that's just north of there that we connect to the church parking lot to provide that connection. Now, we can revamp that or look at to see what would be the best approach for that, to provide that as another connection. But as I mentioned previously, we can discuss with the school district to see what would be the best, what we can provide to provide that.
Any further questions from the commissioners?
Well, I just have one more concern. I'm sorry, it's a concern though. If you have water runoff now from what the neighbors say, and you, with concrete, with pavement, you're gonna increase runoff. And you say it's gonna be addressed according to what we require, but do you think that maybe you might wanna find out what's being done now before you add to their misery?
And I will say that was done back when we did the previous project. That's why the underground detention facility was installed.
But I guess it's not working properly or something. I'm sorry.
I believe, from my understanding, that's the west property line that's separated from the area that we're talking about right here isn't the same watershed as the area they're talking about. So that's something we have to discuss. And there's been some previous concerns with some runoff from, I believe, the practice facility out there. We'd have to look at that, see if that's still the case, but I know at one point that was, and I believed it was addressed, but if it hasn't, it was something we need to talk about, I guess, look at it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant by the commissioners? All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any other further discussion by the commissioners? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Not provide a response?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you have to be sworn in and state your name and address, please.
No problem. I do. Matt Keys. 1828 Walnut Street, Suite 922, Kansas City, Missouri, 64108. Thank you for having us tonight. I have a little history to everything that we're talking about. I was the lead architect back in the 2018 band gym edition that we did there. David's referencing the detention that we put in. One thing to make very clear related to the detention and the runoff. So this entire site drains to the lower left corner on the screen. It drains to that detention basin that we put in to support a pretty large load, and we planned a little bit for the future, but as David's mentioning, this became a little bit larger than we had planned for. But that detention basin is running all the way down to the southwest corner of the site by the railroad track. It does not drain.
Sir, if you could.
Sorry.
To address the
It does not
question,
drain
thank you.
to the adjacent properties. What's happening in the situation of the runoff, here we go.
Okay.
So an athletic field, softball turf was installed. So softball was installed, the band turf was installed, soccer, I believe, practices on there as well. What happened there was turf was installed and we started having runoff issues associated with those fields. What we did, we came in, David spent a lot of time doing this as a civil engineer, trying to mitigate the runoff and issues that were happening because we heard the complaints that were happening from the property owners. We really tried to address those needs. We upped the size line, the French drains that were associated with that line, to try to mitigate that runoff that was happening. And a lot of that runoff was already happening in those yards, but it did become a bit worse when those fields were put in. We made every effort to try to alleviate that concern. We've tried over and over again to issue that. that's to the runoff concern. I wanted to address a couple other things related to the actual overall development of this freshman center. So, one thing about Blue Springs High School, it's one of the largest high schools in all of Missouri. It's also on one of the smallest sites in all of Missouri. It has roughly, I believe, 38 acres associated with this site. A high school this big typically takes about 100 acres. That's the actual size that it should have to be appropriate. So as you see with this design, as we start to push out towards Ashton, back in 2018 when we designed that runoff lane for the parent drop-off, we did that to try to alleviate all the congestion and circulation that was happening. Well, turns out that congestion kept happening. A girl tried to cross that Ashton Street, she got hit. And so the safety became a major factor of why we looked into expanding this to the north. We did not want people crossing Ashton Drive to go to Harvest Church where they park. It addressed numerous things that were in adamant safety issues that were going on. One other thing. So, as we look into this, you know, it's really, there's been a lot of thoughts, and we'll touch on the vacation process because we've talked to a lot of parties here. We've talked to the police, we've talked to the fire departments, we've had people involved from the very get-go, you know, year and a half now of this process to make sure that we're engaging with the community. So with that, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, any questions for this witness by the commissioners? Okay, thank you. Okay, any other general discussion from the commissioners before we close the public hearing on this application? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I would ask for a motion on the rezoning.
Chair?
Commissioner Peel.
I move that rezoning RZ 07217895 for Blue Springs High School Freshman Center be approved as submitted by staff.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Cradoff. This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Graham,
Aye.
Commissioner Rohr, Commissioner Cradoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Honeycutt,
Aye.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner Billups.
I just want to say there's very little of my high school still left here. Back when it was 5 separate buildings in ancient history. But aye for the rezoning.
Okay. Commissioner Peel,
Aye.
Chair Sanderson.
Aye.
Motion's carried.
The motion carried. This item will be recommended and heard at the City Council at their Wednesday, September 8th meeting at 6 p.m. I'm going to ask for a motion for the PUD Concept Plan.
Chair?
Commissioner Peel.
I move that Plan Development Concept Plan PDC 07217899 for Blue Springs High School Freshman Center with the 3 conditions be approved as submitted by staff.
I have a motion from Commissioner Peel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Honeycutt. This will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Rohr,
Aye.
Commissioner Cradoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Honeycutt,
Aye.
Commissioner Banks,
Aye.
Commissioner Billups.
I think there's got to be a better way to do this. No.
Commissioner Peel,
Aye.
Commissioner Graham,
I agree with Commissioner Billups. I think there's a better way, and no.
okay, Chair Sanderson.
Aye.
Okay, that motion is carried.
The motion carried with 3 staff conditions. This item will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Wednesday, September 8th meeting at 6 p.m. Now ask for a motion on the preliminary plat.
Chair?
Commissioner Peel.
I move that preliminary plat PP 07217898 for Blue Springs High School Freshman Center with the 4 conditions be approved as submitted by staff.
I have a motion from Commissioner Peel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Honeycutt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay.
What?
I couldn't quite hear you, Commissioner
No.
Banks. So. Did you say no though?
Yeah.
Okay.
One no?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
All right, that's all for that one, and we'll move to the public hearing. I'm gonna go and open that public hearing for agenda item 10, vacation VAC 07217897 for Blue Springs High School Freshman Center, and I would I would ask for exhibits from City Attorney Jackie Sauer.
I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, application with attachments. 3, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on August 7, 2021. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title 4 Land Use Section Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. And 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference.
All right, thank you. And as for the staff presentation, Ms. Kelly.
All right. In conjunction with the previously heard applications for the expansion of Blue Springs High School is the request for the vacation of Northwest Ashton Drive between Northwest 22nd Street and Northwest 19th Street, just north of the high school. The vacation is necessary for the combination of the school's main campus at 2000 Northwest Ashton Drive with the parcel of land to the north, which is 2009 Northwest Ashton Drive. The vacated area will be dedicated to the school district property and used for the development of a new parking lot to accommodate the incoming staff that will be relocated to this site from the existing off-campus freshman center. When the high school was originally developed in 1969, this portion of land was included as school property. The school dedicated this land as public right-of-way and is now requesting to incorporate that land into the high school campus for improved internal circulation. In order to manage changes in traffic flow created by the vacation of the street, 3 roundabouts are proposed. One at the intersection of Northwest 22nd Street and Northwest Ashton Drive, and 2 on South Outer Road, one at Northwest 22nd Street and the other at Northwest 19th Street. An emergency access easement must be delineated and dedicated on the final plat for emergency services to cross through the location of the vacated right-of-way to access either side of Northwest Ashton Drive. There are existing utilities within Northwest Ashton Drive right-of-way that must be protected if the right-of-way is to be vacated. The street will not be permanently closed to through traffic until off-site improvements have been substantially completed to accommodate the change in traffic circulation as recommended by the study. And I'll stand for any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions by the commissioners for staff? See none, thank you. And I would ask if the applicant would like to make any additional presentation for this application. And again, you'll need to be sworn in. State your name and address, please.
I do. Charlie Bell, Blue Springs School District, 1801 West Vesper, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64015. Just to reiterate a couple of points that we've already touched on. Matt touched on it, safety concern with Ashton Drive, congestion, student safety primarily, but also traffic safety through that area as well. So as you can see, this map is messing me up because it's not oriented north to south, it's sideways. But as you can see, that's the South Outer Road and the proposed traffic circles that would be installed there to increase the safety, to change the grade of the hill, specifically at 22nd Street, and to make both 19th and 22nd and Outer Roads safer for everyone. And then additionally, the as we've gone over in some detail already, the fact that this is the largest high school in the state of Missouri. When you take 9th through 12th grade, Blue Springs High School is the largest state school, public school in the state of Missouri, the largest of any high school in the state of Missouri. At this point, Jeff City just built Capital City High School, so Jeff City for years had been the largest high school, but they now have a second public high school in their system. And so now Blue Springs is the largest, and we are only on 38 acres. By comparison, Lee Summit North, Lee Summit West, even Blue Springs South is on nearly 50 acres now, which was originally a junior high, Butler Dwyer Junior High back in the day. So our 2 very large suburban high schools are on relatively small pieces of land. And so that makes the dynamics and the design and the challenges for our architects, our civil engineers, our school planners very, very difficult. And so that's why the best plan that we can come up with together with Hollis and Miller and MKCE is to do this, what you have before you and what the staff has presented to you. So with that, I'll stop and see if you have any questions.
Any questions for the applicant from the commissioners? I don't know, do we want to make comments about the traffic study this time as far as the applicant standpoint, or do you want to, okay, and you just be sworn in again, please?
I do. James David Ratley, MKEC Engineering, 11827 West 112th Street, Suite 200, Overland Park, Kansas, 66210. Without going into a lot of specifics, we hired a traffic engineer to evaluate the perimeter streets and to determine what would be the loads and the requirements and what would be needed in different levels of requirements to see if traffic signal warrants were done, if they'd be warranted to do that, if there's warranted to do intersections with stop signs. All that was not warranted for these intersections. That roundabouts were the best traffic safety measure to provide at those intersections to help with alleviate the traffic demand for what we're providing for the school district. Just to touch on the inner workings of the site itself, the bus loop would be on that north parking lot with the staff and visitor, and then the parent pickup and student parking would be on that west parking. So the way it currently is now, the bus and parent pickup drop off is on that north loop. As was mentioned before, that was recently just done with the addition of the freshman center, and as the school district mentioned, that that increase demanded with the construction of the site to try to separate that helps with safety as well. So with having the parent pickup drop off on the west end with the student parking separated from the bus really helped with the circulation and overall function of the site.
Any questions for the applicant?
Sure.
The commissioners, Commissioner Peel.
So is there a plan, I'll get with Commissioner Banks, is there a plan to provide any kind of path? I think we kind of touched on that as far as bicycle path for the bicyclists or anything in that direction.
Yeah, I think David was put on the spot. Speaking for the school district on behalf of the school board and hearing our constituents, our neighbors, and our patrons tonight, it's clear that we ought to include that. And I don't think it would be terribly costly to do so. So I'll ask our partners to include that in the plan so that there would be pedestrian and bike access across that northern tier where there's already going to be a sidewalk, and make sure that that looks right and is accessible for the neighborhood. And as been presented tonight, I completely agree that we should not prevent that access across what used to be Ashton, across the school district property. We want to encourage that as well.
All right, thank you, John.
You bet.
Yeah,
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a question on one thing. Emergency services, police, fire, did you consult with them? I gather you probably did, because
Yes.
you're cutting off you're cutting off Ashton that goes to Castle, and that's the fastest route over to Kings Ridge.
Yes, and we have discussed that with the fire department, and we've gone through, and they've seen this most recent plan, that's what that little connection provides. So you can get off at Ashton and goes to the 19th and come through the parking lot and then right through the roundabout there for emergency cases for the fire department.
For
But
the
they have
fire,
direct
police,
Yes.
so they can get
Anybody.
down.
It's
the
fire.
ca-
It's emergency access. Is what it'd
Okay,
be for.
I just, because I was concerned that you're cutting off their.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for the applicant by the commissioners? All right, thank you. Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this project? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this project? Yes, please, please sworn in, state your name and address.
I do. As a neighbor who sits there and listens, Carrie Martin, 2306 Northwest Kensington Court. As a neighbor who has direct vision and I can hear the parking lot, kids are in that parking lot doing donuts all of the time. And now we're going to give them 3 roundabouts to play in. I'm telling you, I was a kid. I have a child. I have 2. I see these kids daily driving, and I hear them all the time in that parking lot doing donuts. The outer road, is it wide enough for your roundabouts? Sorry. That's what my concern is it wide enough? Or is it going to be widened from 22nd all the way to Woods Chapel and 19th all the way to 7 Highway? Because you're going to have increased traffic on both sides. So those are my concerns. Not only the first responders. You say there's access through your roundabout. It is not direct access. Is there going to be a gate there? How's it going to open? What if it doesn't open? These are all concerns that all of us have. And like everyone says, we are bullied by the school district. It's well known. My backyard is a swamp. My poor neighbor is a swimming pool in his backyard because of the ball fields. I don't know what they've done to fix it. They rolled up some hay or something and shoved it against my fence. But it really doesn't stop the water. So, I mean, there are several things with this plan that are just killing the neighbors. And I'm disappointed as he is that more neighbors aren't here, but we really didn't have enough time. We got our letter last week. People work, people have kids, they can't find babysitters quickly to get up here to do this, and some of them just throw their hands up and say, it's the school district, they're gonna get what they want. And that is the majority of my cul-de-sac, throw their hands up in the air and say, it's the school district, they're going to get what they want. And I encourage you all to please listen to us. Because if something happens to me, I want emergency access. I want them to be able to get to me quickly. I don't want them to have to go around about or out the I-70 and around or down the outer road. And and the bicycle issue. I don't ride a bike. I don't know that I could, but I walk. I walk my dog to the park all the time. There's a water issue and a trash issue at that park beside the swimming pool. And it's constant. So those are all just things, and I'm sure other people come up here and discuss this too.
Okay. Is there any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right, thank you. Okay. Please come forward, be sworn in, state your name and address.
John Michael, 2306 Northwest Yorkshire Drive, Blue Springs.
Say it after I can type.
Oh, sorry.
You swear to tell the truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay. How can you say it?
John Michael, 2306 Northwest Yorkshire Drive. I understand that gentleman stepped up here, and I'm going to take this in 2 quick steps, that he said that they are continuing to try to deal with an issue from 2018. We're 3 years into it, and they're still trying to fix the problem they created. I did not have a drainage issue in my backyard for 20 years until they came in and took a ball field that was below my grade and now have put it 6 foot above grade. And their fix was to come in and put a gravel road between the ball field and our property lines. You asked about asphalt. They put in gravel. Gravel washes away. Rain runs through gravel, it washes the dust and everything out. Guess where it ends up? In our backyards. That's the follow-through that they're telling you that
If you could come to the microphone.
That's
just
the
so we can-
follow-through that they said that they are doing with the drainage. Now, on to the bigger issue. I spent 18 years with the fire district in the city. I put my time in. I know about getting EMS from one side of the city to the other. Not only are they cutting that off, now the school district is asking you to approve something that is going to further alienate and cut off the west side of this city from the east side. We have 3 points of access to get from where we live to the 7 highway corridor. We either have to go across railroad tracks, which EMS, fire, and police do not come down Woods Chapel from the south side of the tracks, because if they get stopped by a train, guess what? They're not coming to save your life. Been a common problem, an issue that we've had in the city since 1967. The studies are there to show that. So we have Ashton to get Station out on Adams Dairy, in order for them to respond to help, they have to come down I-70, come all the way back through that into where the school district is. It's irresponsible on the school district's part as well, because what if something happens at the school when all of our children are there at an event and you've cut off this access for EMS services? They've talked to the EMS, they've talked to the fire district, but where are they tonight to address these issues and concerns? They're nowhere to be had. Where are all of our folks that live in these neighborhoods tonight? They're at the schools, because the school district is doing this while they have all these meetings going on for new school startups. So not everybody can be here, because we have a young neighborhood. A lot of young kids still are in this neighborhood. You're cutting off our access to the other side of town, limiting what we do again. The gentleman talked about getting to downtown Blue Springs, getting to the 7 highway corridor, and you're cutting us off at the knees. We now have to go out to an outer road that is dangerous. When was the last time you drove through that outer road at 6 o'clock at night, when the sun is starting to go down? Those hard curves, the hills, and now you're going to take a bunch of inexperienced drivers and put them into that atmosphere? Now let's talk about all of the kids that are coming to the freshman center. And I believe I've talked with this gentleman before about this issue on the phone of the kids that are bringing in their friends and they're parking in our neighborhood. And then they're walking through our yards to get to school. 100 and what was the distance that you sent out, the emails? Yeah. We have a whole neighborhood that lives here. There's only a few of us that are 100 feet from the school district. I'm lucky. Mine's 13 feet from their property line. I used to think it was lucky. I used to think it was great because my kids got to walk straight to school. That's not what's going on here. It's not about the school anymore. It's not about the children anymore. This is about, just like he said, keeping up with Lee Summit. Folks, there's a better way. Why don't we do like they do in so many different areas? Let's shut Ashton down during school hours. You still have emergency access if needed, because you're going to have the school resources officers and the Blue Springs police officers that are out there directing traffic. Shut it down during school hours. Don't shut me off from the rest of the city of Blue Springs. Don't shut the EMS and the fire department and the police department off to me the rest of the time. The children that are out there driving and doing this stuff in the school, folks, I don't know if you know, but Blue Springs PD does not respond to anything that happens in the school district because they don't allow it. I call so many times because I see them out there destroying the school district. And you know what the officers tell me when they get there? Our hands are tied because they have their own police department. They've got their own folks that handle these things. We can't do anything about it. I implore you to look into these things. I'm begging you to look into the things we are addressing you about. We're very passionate because we've lived here. We're part of the community. As I said, I've got a grandchild still to go through. All my family has gone to school here. I'm not against the school district. I've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I used to mow that area that is now gravel behind my property line. That was the school district's. I used to mow that because their folks wouldn't. So I mowed it. They don't have to mow it anymore because it's all washing into my backyard and my neighbors' backyards. So please take the time. Don't approve this tonight. Ask questions. Get more people involved, not just the professionals that are here on behalf of a large school district with lots and lots of money. I apologize. I feel like I'm yelling into it when I'm that close to it.
Okay.
I'm begging you to look into this more, to ask the questions. Don't just rubber stamp the school district again when we're being bullied and we're being cut off from the rest of you, because that's what this is going to do. There are alternatives, like Mr. Billups said. There has to be a better way. Mr. Graham agreed there's a better way. There has to be. Shut it down during school hours. It's really that simple. Just shut Ashton down during school. It happens all over the state. It happens in other cities all over. Look for that other way. Let's find somewhere where we can all come together as a community, and we don't have folks that are sitting out here that are saying we're being bullied. We want to be their partners, but they won't be partners with us. So please, don't just rubber stamp this tonight. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right, thanks. Is there anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak in opposition? Yep. You can come forward. Please be sworn in, state your name and address.
I do. My name is Matt Roberts. I live at 2913 Northwest Castle Drive, Blue Springs. That's in Kings Ridge. I won't repeat my previous statements, which were mostly about this vacation proposal. I guess I want to say that I'm not opposed to the idea of closing Ashton to regular vehicle traffic. Motor vehicle traffic. I think there are some constraints on that site. You're trying to put a lot of you're trying to put 10 pounds of high school in a 5-pound sack, so you have to fit it in somehow. I just do think, and I know the gentleman, the civil engineering, said that there could be some provisions for better bicycle and pedestrian access through the site, and I think that the Planning Commission should see what that is before they move to approve it. Right now, the access is sort of, you go through the roundabout, you dodge the gate, maybe you go down the emergency driveway, and then you go up to that squiggly pathway, which you replace. And I understand why it's squiggly. It's to get the slope right, because there's some steps in that situation right now. And then you end up in Harvest Baptist parking lot, which the gentleman from Harvest Baptist said that relationship may not be all it could be. So I think we can do a little bit better on the pedestrian bicycle infrastructure for people in the neighborhood than what this plan is right now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. If you can please come forward, be sworn in, state your name and address.
I do. Yes, my name's Tom Brockmeyer, and I'm a longtime resident, 704 Northwest Cambridge Court. 20 years in the community, love the school, graduated 3 kids there. Father, Gringen father. We really enjoy this neighborhood. I represent, I would say, maybe an older crowd in our community. We do have a lot of young people coming in there. Seems like a lot more, a new generation of kids in the community. But man, we ask, and I wish I lived, maybe I don't wish I lived 185 feet away. During a football game, it sounds like I'm 185 feet away. So we enjoy that. We kind of like that. But we, as a community, my cul-de-sac, my street, we're out talking, drinking coffee, and man, I don't know, maybe we don't read the Examiner anymore. It's all on our Google phone or something. But we're not that knowledgeable of it. It was difficult, I feel like. As we drove by, we saw the signs. But my neighborhood, my street, all the old dudes around me, I mean, man, we highly oppose, and we would ask the city of Blue Springs, man, don't close Ashton. We have no access. You're going to force us to go to an outer road that's very dysfunctional. You're going to force us to go to, what is that, Walnut, the other traffic circle. I think of my grandkids. I can't imagine sending my grandkids through, those of you that live over on Woods Chapel, that traffic circle that's there, sending my grandkids through that traffic circle to see their buddies on the other side, that terrifies me. And what I see here is this is scary to a small, I don't know, we're not a small town community, but we like this community. We like the flow of the traffic through the community. And I'm telling you, there's a bunch of people that aren't here tonight that, wow, this is really, this cuts us off from 7 Highway, cuts us off just from the other half of Blue Springs, and it's going to be highly opposed. I don't know how we can contend against the 107 million. Now, we voted for it. We love the school, but man, this is kind of bittersweet to us. We're like, what? They're gonna do this? We can't do something else. So I would ask, City of Blue Springs and Blue Springs High School, man, find a better way. Find a better way.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any questions for this witness? All right, thank you. Is there any others who would be speaking in opposition? Yep, if you could please come in and be sworn in, state your name and address.
I do. George Martin, 2306 Northwest Kensington Court. I've been at my current residence for 21 years now. I moved in March of 2000 at my current residence. And from the time I've moved in, my backyard has flooded. I stood before this council, this committee, 15 years ago and offered photographic evidence of what was coming from the Blue Springs High School. And the gentleman that was with the high school at that time said, "I'll help you, I'll do it. Here's my card." He never calls me back. He never called me back. He didn't answer my emails. These people are politicians. They're blowing smoke. They say they will do it. They're never held accountable. I ask you, hold them accountable. They are looking through glasses like this. Like they said, they need a bigger spot. They need a third high school. This will only get them so far. This will not get them more than 10 years in the future. And they're talking about safety of the students, which 100%. But they're still going to park at the swimming center. They're still going to cross Ashton. There is still that issue there. So this is not the solution. I beg of you, please do not approve this.
Any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right, thanks. Any other speakers in opposition to this project? Please be sworn in, state your name and address.
I do. Brett Kessinger, 16509 35th Street East, Independence addresses, I'm sorry, and it's late. East 35th Street South, Independence, Missouri, 64055. Again, I'm the facility manager for Harvest Baptist Church. And I just want to say thank you. This has actually been a really fun learning experience. I don't go to court often, or not, whatever this is. My pastor's terrified because I'm making a fool of myself as I normally do. They don't let me out with the adults. So I've heard a lot of sworn testimony. Whoa, got it. I can fix this. You guys want me to come back tomorrow? Because this is what I do. But a lot of sworn testimony, and it's weird. I guess maybe because it's not on a Bible anymore, so you kind of feel like you get to exaggerate a little more. But I've heard a lot of, we've had great communication since 2018. I've heard a lot of that. And it's like, did they ask us about this squiggly sidewalk that's coming into our parking lot? No, they didn't. There's no communication on that. Did they ask when they took soil samples well into our property? Like, it wasn't no easement. It wasn't no legal right. It was like hole drilled into well north at our driveway, and then a truck parked on our lot for 2 weeks. Did they ask about that? No, they didn't do that. Did they ask with this new property line that's going to cut through our sign at 19th and Ashton, and so that's going to have to get moved? Are we out that, or will the school help us relocate it or get a new one? Or I don't know. They didn't ask. But great communication since 2018. I heard that. And did they actually ever ask us and put in a reasonable offer to buy our 5 acres? No. Calvary's got 9 acres right next door. 14 acres. You guys can have them. Well, I can't speak for Calvary, but you can have them. Just actually give us an offer. I don't even care if it's a low ball. Let us say no, but we've got nothing. So I hear these concerns, and we understand. We're trying to fit 10 pounds of poo in a 5-pound bag at our church, and so we get it. And we want to help. And we've been through 3 different revisions of trying to add on to our space and all that. But ultimately, at the end of today, I think if we're honest, the school just wants a free acre of land. 2 acres. That's all they want. They want the land underneath Ashton. They don't really want to give the churches a fair offer on their property. And so that's what this is all about. I honestly question if they're actually doing their due diligence, with all the testimony that I've heard that says they're doing a great job, but obviously they're not, because literally since 2018 for this gentleman's yard, they've tried. Like, is that what we're doing here? Just trying, and then when it failed, we just say, oh well. So I just see failure points everywhere, choke points everywhere, and I get it. $5 million, you can have our 5 acres. Like, that's boom, choke point gone. Now you're still going to be crossing the street, but like the gentleman said, it doesn't really seem like you care about crossing Ashton, because you still have to go from that parking lot to. I mean, it's been embarrassing that we require our special education students to walk across Ashton. Like, really, we couldn't find a place within the building for them for all these years. So I just don't think they're trying hard enough. So I would just ask you guys to put the schools in check and vote no for this one thing, and just force them to actually plan, force them to actually properly communicate, because supposedly they are. But again, I've been the facilities manager for 7 years. 7 years. There's not a single person over there that knows me by name. Not a single person. But they have great relationships and great communication, supposedly. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Any questions for this witness by the commissioners?
I have one question.
Yes, Commissioner
You
Prado.
mentioned you were a pastor at one of the churches, the Harvester? No.
So I'm the facilities manager, and then oddly enough, they deemed that I could go Goodwill Hunting style and go from janitor to pastor. So I did get ordained 3 years ago, and starting next week, I'll actually no longer be the facility manager. I'll be the education pastor for 0 to 18 years old.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any other questions for this witness? All right.
Thank you. Love you back.
Any other speakers in opposition to this? Yes, sir. Yep. Can you please come forward and be sworn in? Oh, I'm sorry. That's okay. You can go ahead. Yep. Sworn in. State your name and address for the record, please.
I do. Sean Ketley, 4309 Southwest West Hickory Lane, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64015. I am a business manager at Harvest Baptist Church, just north of the school properties. And I just would like to express some frustration at the communication that we have received concerning this vacation. I drive Ashton Court daily into the church offices. Had I not picked up on the public notification on the road, we would not have known of this. I'm not certain of the procedure, but to my knowledge as business manager, we never received written notification of this proceeding. So that I am a little concerned as to the timing, and I feel like all the concerns that have been expressed, that I would like to ask the commission to deny this vacation and perhaps have a hearing on public comments and concerns. There seems to be a lot of concerns that have been brought up, and I think this is a big issue. I would hate to see it go through without some more public input. That's all I have to say. I just feel like we have not had the opportunity to get the full feelings from the community, and I would like to ask that this be denied at this point for further review. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right. Thank you. Any other speakers? Yep. Please come be sworn in. State your name and address for the record.
I do. I'm Robert Legg, 808 Northwest Hearns Avenue, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64015. I'm a member of Calvary Baptist Church, the other Baptist church. My concern, I've seen that you're putting traffic circles at 22nd and Ashton, 22nd and South Outer Road, and 19th and South Outer Road. My question is, by blocking Ashton off between 22nd and 19th Street, this is going to cause more traffic to go on to South Outer Road. I know members of our church, they come down Ashton, turn onto 22nd Street and pull into our parking lot. Harvest has members that come down Ashton from the west that turn onto 19th Street to get into their parking lot. This is going to cause more traffic because the members of our congregation coming from the east is going to have to go down on South Outer Road. Harvest is going to have the same problem. The condition of South Outer Road will not handle additional traffic. It's the same thing with the high school. When the students leave the high school, the ones that would go turn right onto Ashton to get into the east side of the city is going to have to go down on 22nd or on South Outer Road. That, I'm sure when you put the traffic circle in down there, there's going to be some adjustments made on South Outer Road. But I haven't heard anything about making improvements on South Outer Road. I have 31 years law enforcement experience. I've worked many accidents in that 31 years. Unless there is improvements on South Outer Road, you're not gaining anything. Thank you.
Is there any questions for this witness by the commissioners? All right, thank you, sir. Is there any other speakers in opposition to this project at this time? Would the applicant like to make any additional comments in response to some of the testimony?
I do. James David Ratley, MKEC Engineering. Address is 11827 West 112th Street, Suite 200, Overland Park, Kansas 66210. I was wanting to speak on behalf of the outer road improvements specifically. There are proposed improvements for the roadway from just, as you can see on the plan, west of 22nd Street to east of 19th Street. The roadway currently as it stands now is 18 feet or 14-foot lanes, so 28 feet to edge of pavement plus curb throughout the west end of 22nd Street and east end of 19th Street, and with the traffic circles there, the roundabouts. The roundabouts will provide traffic calming. Sight distance, intersection sight distance, and stopping sight distance are met with those traffic circles, so you won't have to have that light that's off of 22nd Street anymore. So all the, like again, as I mentioned, the intersection sight distance and the stopping sight distance are met by doing the traffic circles. So taking a situation with South Outer Road being as dangerous as it is now, by putting those roundabouts in at those locations significantly increases the functionality of the roadway and improves the safety.
Any questions for the applicant?
Sure.
Yes, Mr. Peel.
James, what's your feeling about the fire truck coming down to, well, you can't really get through on 19th Street, on 22nd Street, coming down into the high school? What's your feeling on?
But before we're Ashton, there's direct connection there. We won't have anything that would be blocking that, so they would have direct access, and that's something we can talk about a little bit more, whether if a gate is the appropriate option or if a retractable bollard or some other mechanism that would work to provide that connection, direct connection, and wouldn't be any obstruction whatsoever, so they can go through without any issues. That's what we've been working with the fire department. We continue to work with the fire department and come up with whatever would be the best, and that would be, something we can work out with the fire department and the city.
Okay. Thank you, James. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions for this applicant? Commissioner Heineke?
I have one question, more probably for the school district. A comment was made about the police department when it comes to them handling issues going on at the school. The comment made about them having their own police department. Can you address that to the commission, please?
I mean, just to clarify, is this in relation to this application, or is this in kind of a more general?
I mean, it was a concern that was brought up to the public. So I mean, it's
Right. I
just,
guess I just want to try to keep on topic, where we're talking about the application itself and the implications of the vacation of it. If there's if it's tied to that, I think let's go and answer it. If not, maybe we'll.
If you have a brief answer, I mean, just.
I don't know how many times I've been sworn in, so, all right.
You're fine.
I think you're good. You
All right,
gave a presentation.
Okay. I'm not sure what the exact example or scenario was that was shared. I can just tell you that we, at both high schools, have Blue Springs police officers serving as school resource officers. The Blue Springs police certainly have jurisdiction on our property. We do have our own Department of Public Safety. We do have officers that work for the school district at multiple school sites. But in my experience as a high school principal, there's never been a time when a Blue Springs police officer did not have jurisdiction at Blue Springs South or at Blue Springs High School. In fact, we have full-time SROs that are Blue Springs PD every day at both high schools. So I don't know what the situation or scenario was, just my experience that they absolutely have jurisdiction and would have an ability to address an issue. So that would be my
Thank you for
attempt at clarification. And it was the first day of school today. There's no conspiracy to schedule these on the particular night. We don't have any back to school nights tonight. And that's probably enough at this point.
Any questions for the applicant? Or additional questions? Oh, Commissioner Krause, sorry.
There was a question posed about parking in front of the residents' homes during the school hours. I see in some areas in the city that there are no parking signs between certain hours. Is it feasibility, a possibility that you could do something in this area for some of the residents in terms of that?
Yeah, I do think that there's that absolute possibility. The addition of freshmen who do not drive, this may be a current problem, that we have students that are parking in neighborhoods where it's an inconvenience, it's a problem, they ought not be parking. So if that's the case, yeah, I mean, I think we would want to address that at either of our high schools, that students park where they're supposed to park. It's a challenge, as you can imagine. But yes, we have installed signs at different places on school property, at Young Park across from Blue Springs South, to make sure that students aren't parking there on city property and so on. So I do think that's something that we need to look at and address.
Charlie, I've heard you speak many times about the school district. I think you're doing a great job. And I'm just curious to what you have to say about some of the citizens here this evening. They're saying that they haven't had the conversations with you that you said that you had. Can you explain to the commission why you think that is and how you might be able to address that after this meeting? And in the same breath, I'd like to say it'd be nice if we had somebody here, like one of the gentlemen said, from the fire department or from the police department that could speak on their own behalf instead of you guys speaking for them. But I don't have any reason not to believe you, but could you expand?
Yeah, I think with these patrons, neighbors, community members, longtime supporters of the school district, we've got some work to do. I hear them, and it is something that we will need to continue to work on and start working on. I don't have a great answer for you, Commissioner, in that respect. This is going to sound like an excuse, I'm sure, to my neighbors and patrons and community members. I've been in this job for 6 weeks, but prior to that, I was at Blue Springs South for 26 years. We've got some work to do, it's clear, in these neighborhoods surrounding Blue Springs High School to try to forge a better partnership, communicate with Harvest Church, and communicate with the residents that live next door. That's loud and clear tonight to me.
How can we
So
circle back possibly and have another discussion to maybe help them have a change in mind to understand what you're trying to do? What
Mhm.
would you recommend for them?
Well, I think there's an opportunity to contact me. I'm the one that's here representing the school district in this matter, and I'd be happy to continue that conversation. That's probably going to sound like an empty promise to them until we follow through, until I actually do that and reach out to them. I've taken some notes tonight, and I'll do my best to make that happen. We're community servants. We're educators. I mean, we do not want our neighbors and our parents, our grandparents, our faith-based neighbors. We don't want anybody to say the things that they've said tonight. I've been a Blue Springs School District employee since 1995. This is my home. This is my home. And so it hurts. It does. It means something to me. Now, until I prove that to be true to them, those are empty words. And we'll just have to make sure that we prove that to be true. I will say one other comment that struck me. My children have attended Lee Summit High School. I take for whatever you want to say about that. Lee Summit High School has a long way to keep up with Blue Springs and Blue Springs South. As a parent, patron, community member, and taxpayer of that community, my kids have not gotten anywhere close to the facilities and the programs that the kids in this community get. So the idea that we're trying to keep up with Lee Summit, I would say it's exactly the inverse. As a parent, patron, and community member there, they're trying to keep up with us. Our facilities are way better than theirs, and it's not even close. So as a that may cross the line, but I just felt like that compelled to say that as a 26, 27-year-old member of this school district in this community, but living in another. I think we ought to be proud of the facilities and the places we have. Lee Summit's trying to chase Blue Springs, so I'll leave it at that.
I'd like to say thank you for your service again, and thank you for your candid opinion. And I'm just happy for the children, the high school kids, and what they're going to get, what they're going to achieve from this. But I hope at the same time that you're able to work things out with the citizens that are here tonight and their concerns. And I believe that you're going to try to do the best you can. Thanks.
Any other questions for the applicant at this time by the commissioners?
I do have one question.
Okay, Commissioner
Sorry. When you were designing all of this, instead of closing down Ashton, did you consider buying the church? Right across from the pool, and making that parking lot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that has been a consideration. Again, I cannot speak except for about the last 3 to 6 months, and specifically in this current role, the last 6 weeks. I do know that there have been brief conversations and thoughts by the board, by our previous superintendent, and by current administration. I don't know the specifics of those. I was not involved in those communications. That's what's been relayed to me. Give us $5 million, we'll get out of your way. I don't know what the appraised value of Harvest is.
Well, we got 2 churches over there, and
I will say, it has been a thought, a concern, a consideration from the school board on down. How much action, how real their thoughts were on that, I can't speak for them. I wasn't a part of those conversations, but I do know that has been considered and maybe even briefly talked about.
Because you could build a bridge instead of closing the Ashton. So I just thought, maybe you might want to think about that.
Well, I'll just leave it at that. Any other questions I can answer?
Anyway, that's it.
Okay.
I'm done.
Any other questions
Sorry.
for the applicant at this time? Okay, I'll take it here for any further discussion by the commissioners.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Phillips.
I really hate to belabor the point right now, but and I'm dating myself here again, I remember the town celebrated when we built the bridge on Walnut over the railroad tracks, because it created a third east-west pathway through town, straight through. We didn't have that, and the 2 sides were very definitely separated. And now we're talking about closing one of those paths back down again, and I just cannot. This is awkward. No matter how many traffic circles and improvements you do to the outer road, having to go 3 blocks out of the way instead of going straight through, it just is not a solution. There has to be a better way to do this. Anytime we've looked at a vacation in the past, we've looked at an alleyway or a dead-end street or something like that, not a main thoroughfare. This is just, it's unthinkable to me to close down a main thoroughfare going across our town.
And Mr. Chair,
Mr. Banks.
I live over on Woods Chapel. And when there's a rail train on Woods Chapel, I have to turn around because, you know, and I can't imagine emergency services, and I go through Castle over to Ashton. That's my way to the other side of town. We don't have a grocery store over there on Woods Chapel, so I have to go somewhere. And, but I mean, I can't imagine, I'd have to go all the way up, if I was emergency services, think about this. Then I'd have to go up to the outer road. What if school's being let out? Well, then I gotta go up to I-70. So, I mean, Ashton is I just can't imagine it not being there, I guess. That's our thoroughfare.
Any further comments from the commissioners? Okay, and I'm gonna close the public hearing. And I would ask for a motion on the vacation.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Billups.
I would move for denial of the vacation VAC 07217897 for the reasons I just mentioned.
And I'll
Second.
second that.
Okay, I've got a second from Commissioner Graham, is that correct? And so, so we have a motion for denial, and we have a second, so a aye vote is for denial, just to reiterate that. So this will be a roll call vote.
Planning Commissioner Cradoff?
I think that this conversation has created lots of food for thought this evening, and it can be discussed further. And hopefully, we can improve the situation that we talked about tonight. So I'm going to have to vote aye on this tonight.
Commissioner Honeycutt?
Aye.
Commissioner Banks?
Aye.
Commissioner Billups?
Aye.
Commissioner Peel?
Nay.
Commissioner Graham?
Aye.
Chair, Commissioner Rohr?
Aye.
Chair Sanderson?
Aye.
Motion is denied.
Okay, so this will be recommended and heard by the City Council at their Wednesday, September 8th meeting at 6 p.m. All right, thank you, everybody. We'll move on to other business. Mr. Mallon.
Thank you, Chair. We will have a meeting on September 13th, Monday at 6:30. We obviously have a couple of items that we continued from tonight's meeting to that meeting, and we also have some other cases as well. That is all that we have for other business in regards to upcoming meetings.
Any of the commissioners have any other business?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Kraft.
I have a question about something that's going on downtown. I read a federal law that says the flag should never be fastened, displayed, used, or stored in such a manner as to permit to be torn, soiled, or damaged in any way. Some of our flags displayed here downtown, I'm speaking about Main Street, are torn pretty badly and no longer a fitting emblem or display. I've had some veterans question me about that, and I'm wondering, can we have the damaged flags removed in a dignified way with all due respect? Is that possible?
Which flag specifically are you talking about?
Well, I think there's 2 or 3 of them that are just ripped to shreds and they're just hanging on the pole.
Oh, are these the new ones that just went up?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we will reach out. Those were installed by Downtown Alive. And so we will let them know that those flags have become deteriorated, and we'll work with them.
Okay.
Get that taken care of.
All right, thank you.
Any other business from commissioners?
I believe there's some more staff, other business.
Oh, yes, yes.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to let the Planning Commission know that this will be my last meeting with you this evening.
Where are you going?
I took a position as city clerk for the city of Odessa, Missouri, not Texas, Missouri. And so I wanted to, it's something that has been one of my goals, and so I'm really excited about working with their team. and helping them out. But I just wanted to let you know that, you know, I truly enjoyed working with all the boards and commissions. I know.
Can we vote on it?
It's already been voted.
I vote no.
But, you know, and I also wanted to thank the citizens of Blue Springs. I really have, from my heart, have worked hard for them, and I have enjoyed that. 19 years.
Wow.
So I will miss all of you, but I will come and visit.
Yeah.
I vote no.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I haven't been in this
Well,
position very
you've been
long,
here
but-
almost as long as I have.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
And we're going to
Thank you,
miss you.
Karen.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss you too.
I'll miss you.
So you're vital to this process, so.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
It's been a pleasure.
Yep. Okay.
Well, it's been a pleasure with all of you this evening. 4
I know
hours
of all
later.
meetings.
Yeah, had to go out with a bang, right?
Yes.
What a good way to go out with a bang. It ain't a long meeting.
And on that note, is there any other business from commissioners or staff? No.
No.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
A motion and a second.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good night.
Good night.
That was a doozy.